What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday Night Rundown. I hope you are doing well. I was actually going to have my camera running tonight, but I had some technical issues, so I got to look into exactly why I'm having some issues. So sorry, you just get to see my little avatar. Maybe I'll do the funny one later on because last time a lot of people liked that. But I hope you've had a great week. We have a ton to talk about tonight. So much stuff is going on. Miller Lite really put their foot in their mouth. That's going to be one of our topics, probably one of our first topics, but because I know a lot of people are very interested in that topic, especially with some other things. And I do have a very special guest. A lot of you know this guest. He's been on the channel very many times before. He's going to continue to come on the channel. The one and only foot-loving Yeti.
Man, that's a little presumptuous of you.
You
I'm
know,
gonna keep coming back.
well, here's the deal. If you live stream more, I'd be on your channel more. I'm just saying.
Oh.
But hey, I'm not giving you too much crap. I'm glad to have you back, my friend. Every time you're on here, we have great conversations that last probably longer than I want them to because we stream for like 3 hours. So
yeah, it happens.
I'm glad you're here. A lot to talk about, and you have pretty good input on this stuff. Sometimes, as Justin says, you're wrong, but not all the time. Not all.
Yeah, only the one time, and I admitted it. Every other time, it's been 100% correct.
Yeah, and I completely forgot to get my setups, and because I'm just so behind today, so I do apologize. But I already see we have some people in the chat. We had Keely Chow here. Hey, hope you are doing well. We have Backyard Farmer became a member of the channel, my friend. I hope you are doing well, and thank you for supporting being a member. Beer ESG is hilarious. Yes, we are absolutely going to be talking about that. And for becoming a member, as always, I have to play something good, something funny. So, as always, my friend, thank you for supporting the channel and becoming a member. So let me play this for you.
Give me a hell yeah. I said, give me a hell yeah.
Now, it was only fitting that I played the beer one, right? Considering what's going on and the topics that we're talking about. But yeah, as always, thank you, my friend. Nick, greetings. I don't think I've seen you before here. Welcome. So yeah, what is support to happen? I don't know exactly what that question is. If you want to repeat it, go ahead.
What is supposed to happen?
Oh, what is supposed to happen? Again, not sure if you're talking about the Miller thing, but we're going to get into the topic of everything that happened with Miller, the whole Bud Light scenario, and a couple other good topics for tonight. But we also have Bobby here. Hope you were doing. Canadians are never wrong. Oh, Bobby. See, so the bias is just radiating from Bobby.
No, he's right. He's not even Canadian.
Well, believe it or not, we have a story about a Canadian topic later that's going to be hilarious and shows you that they were definitely wrong.
It's not Trudeau. Oh,
no. Well, yeah, he's a Canadian that's usually wrong.
Yeah, that's skewing the results right there.
Yeah, let's just not count him at all as a.
Yeah, I would prefer that.
Yeah, don't you guys not? Yeah, you don't count him as a Canadian, right? Like,
oh God, no, he's Cuban.
Oh yeah, he's Castro's son, right? So,
yeah, so he doesn't count.
His Castro's illegitimate son.
Yeah.
But let's get into the first topic of how Miller Lite completely destroyed themselves this week by making one of the biggest blunders. Now, look, I know it's not that they did it this week. I understand a lot of us, they didn't know that, obviously this was going to happen with Bud Light because this came out, and I don't know if you knew this at first. I didn't. I thought this was brand new, but this original ad came out a couple months ago.
Yeah. I found that out pretty quick. But it does seem to me that Bud Light is kind of the tipping point or trigger mechanism to start, I don't know, almost waking people up to the BS that's going on, right? So they're not paying attention to this, they don't see it, and then Bud Light happens. Now they're like, attention is raised, and they're kind of looking around and they see all the other stuff like sprouting up. Right.
Yeah. A lot of people are paying more attention and kind of, I think honestly, people are scouring the internet and trying to pay attention to this because there's a couple other threads that I've seen. Another Miller ad that I saw that has to do with like their internal. It was like an internal video that leaked that I want to go over because I did see in a couple of the comments from my video that I did a couple days ago that got a lot of traction rather. A lot of people were like, well, I'm willing to forgive Miller for this and give them a pass. The problem is, though, is that all of these companies are doing the exact same thing as Bud Light's doing. They're just maybe not doing it as egregious right now with the whole who the spokesperson was, I guess. But the videos that I watched and that I have prepared to show later, it really goes into how in depth they are about the ESG scores, the CEI, which is the Corporate Equality Index system that they have, and the HRC, which is Human Rights Campaign. But it all sounds like fantastic words, and it sounds like, oh, well, that's a program I can get behind until you get into it and see exactly what they're doing. So,
and half the time, the people pushing it really don't understand it. They just think that's the way they're supposed to go, so they implement it, and then they start people start questioning, like, hey, what do you mean by this? Like, they don't know. They really have no idea.
I don't think they care at the at the end of the day. And it goes into, like I said, the ESG scores when it comes to investors and whatnot. They have to play ball and they have to check these boxes in order for them to get massive investment from companies like the biggest problem of them all, like BlackRock, who has trillions and trillions of dollars that they invest into these companies. And these companies want that money because, and I had an article in that video where it said profits don't really matter anymore. They need that funding. They need that backing from investors. And if they check these boxes, they'll get it.
I have an issue with that though, because a company wants profits over seeking out investors, because investors dilutes the shares. You'd much rather have a higher profit base, then you never have to look for investment. You're self-sustaining. So now if the company's in trouble, then they start looking for it, looking for investment, and that leads them down that road. But I don't think they're, at least if they're smart, they're not looking for investment over profit.
Well, again, we'll get into the details.
Like sustainable.
Yeah, we'll get into the details of the article and what they were talking about and how things have changed. It's not about, and how they kind of explain how profit doesn't matter as much anymore. And there's a big example that we've been dealing with for a long time that we kind of see that. But hail Flaccid, Phoenix, hope you guys are doing well. I'm glad for you to be here. And Nick says Geeks and Gamers was on Tuesday night. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I know they do a couple shows throughout the week and then during the day. So I don't know how.
What does that have to do with?
I don't know how it's relevant, but hey, awesome.
Good for them on being on Tuesday.
Good to know they're on Tuesdays. I'm on Thursdays. So awesome. Good deal. Good group of guys over there talk about very similar things, I think. So, all right. So I know a lot of you probably have seen this ad, but I want to talk about it, or I want to show it real quick. It's only a minute and we can laugh at it as we go. Real quick.
Oh, God, I got to see this thing again.
Mike H with the $2 super chat, man. It's been a while. Hope you are doing well. I appreciate the super chat. And as always, we got to do something funny. So let's see. Oh, here, we'll do an easy one real quick.
Yes, that's awesome.
I love that freaking movie, dude. I have Frank the Tank. I haven't seen that movie old school in so long.
Oh, and I miss those stupid college movies. I don't think we've had one in a while. And maybe I've aged out of the demographic, and so I'm not paying attention. But honestly, I don't think they're around. Like, they're too offensive for Hollywood these days, so they're not making them. Like, where's the drinking stoner movie about college?
You can't make, like you said, you can't make those movies anymore. If you look at movies like that and Grandma's Boy, those movies are not possible today.
I love Grandma's Boy.
Yeah.
I even showed it to my grandma and she loved it. Like,
oh yeah,
she was laughing hysterically at the movie.
What's up, David? Another channel member, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing good in college. See a couple of your tweets dealing with some shenanigans, and don't miss any roommate days. That's for sure.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, I don't miss that at all. But let's watch this for a little bit, and I want you
No.
to, yeah, you got to watch it. Got to
No.
cringe a little bit. Got to
No.
cringe. Got to cringe. Let's see.
Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first.
Now, do you know the details of this lady? Like how she's an actress and she's like half naked before, and she's been in a lot of like I think she's even played nude in a couple TV series and stuff. So she's easily, and she claims to be a comedian, a very, very poor.
That's a bold statement. And I know that the half naked thing that was on the one show that they had, and oh my God, I remember watching that when it first came out. That's before like I was paying any attention to it. Now I see like, oh my God, this is just awful. I didn't watch it very long because it wasn't funny, but I didn't fully understand why it was so unfunny. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like I wasn't aware enough. Like, shit, this is awful for just so many reasons.
Yeah, the activists aren't capable of being funny. They don't know how because everything is in a box, and if you step out that line, you're going to get in trouble, right? So these people don't know how to be funny, and honestly, like they said, back in her youth, she was okay with portraying her body out there and using her body to sell and all this stuff. But now she's getting older, right? And they understand that taking the activist point of view is what solidifies them for future jobs and money opportunities, just like we've seen from, I'll play the other side of it. Like, look at Candace Owens, right? I've criticized her a lot. And I think she uses, okay, cool. Well, I know where my status is. I'm a black woman and I can make a lot of money if I just slide over to the right-hand side and become an act and just say all the right talking points. So
she's awful. Like, she's a grifter. I don't like her. Like,
absolutely.
I get such a bad vibe.
Trishina says, wait, I forgot the Galactic StarCruiser existed. R.I.P. Disney Star Wars.
So did everyone else.
Everyone else did too. And that's going to be our next topic of the night, because like I said, when that popped off, I was like, oh my God, I have to make a freaking video on that because that was hilarious. Oh, and Disney is tied into all this ESG nonsense that they push, but I am so happy that failed. It was only a matter of time. We all know about that, but yeah, glad for you to be here. Like I said, I'm glad it's gone. I'm glad it's gone. All right, so let's hear this a little bit.
To brew beer ever.
Oh God.
From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing.
Citation
Centuries
needed.
Later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis. Wow.
I love how like they were at gunpoint forced, right? Like they were at forced to do this stuff. Listen, as I said in my video, a lot of people have said this as well, right? The women, like, first off, the only people being offended by this would be
Ugly
gross,
women?
hideous women. Yeah. Like just people that are very insecure about themselves, probably fat, out of shape, right? That's just how it is. I mean, and you see that more from, and unless, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, all right? If you don't think so. I see this more so out of women versus men. Like when I see, like superstars like back in the day, like The Rock or Stone Cold, or you can even use today's like Chris Helmsworth and he's Thor. I'm not like, oh, that's so like, dude, he's jacked. Like, yeah, that if anything, that pushes you to like want to work out and like, man, I want to look at like that, or I want to get better. Whereas on the women's side, not all of them, not speaking for all women, but a lot of women, the ones that complain about this stuff, they just get jealous and they're like, oh, this is disgusting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, because there's a whole different mindset, because you're like, oh, hey, if I work out hard enough, I could get jacked,
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, you have to accept me as my fat, gross self, and therefore no advertisement should have sexy women. Like,
Yeah.
it's a totally different mentality that's taken place.
And Trishina, I think I'm saying this correctly. Trishina says, I'm so proud that I drink Red Stripe. Red Stripe is some very good stuff, man. I haven't had Red Stripe in a long time, but man, that is some good. I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Jamaican, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while I had it, but I loved Red Stripe back in the day. It's just been a long time since I had it.
If you like beer, look for the microbrews. The microbrews are putting out stuff that is so much better. Like half of the mass produced crap that's out there is just a watered down lager. And a lager's fine on a hot day, but that's not really beer. Like there is so much more to beer than just the crappy lager that you pick up and it's just thrown off an assembly line. There's so much more.
I'm a proud bad beer lover. Like I love the watered down piss. I'm not gonna lie. Man, after a hockey game or mowing or drinking just the water beer is fantastic. Okay. I love it.
There's a time and place, man. Like lagers are refreshing. Like that's what they're there for. They're non-offensive, on the taste buds. And if it's a hot day or if you just like finished a hockey game, yeah, that tastes good because it's super refreshing. And there's a lot you can do with lagers.
And it's water.
It's made out of water. But there's so much more to beer.
Stone Cold beer is really good. He has that American lager that he does, and then he has what's the other one? The other type of beer that people crave about. I'll look it up, but real quick,
are you talking ales? Or are you talking about IPAs?
IPA. He's got a decent. And I'm not a big fan of IPAs, but he does have a decent IPA out.
They're very hoppy. They're originally made to sustain the trip from India to North America. That's why it's called the Indian Pale Ale.
Well, here the dictionary of beer. Here we go. Thanks,
yeah. Oh, dude, I know, man. I know beer. I really know beer. I might be little old on like what is the new microbrews that they're up because I stopped drinking for a while and I've been more wine lately and stuff like that. But my knowledge from a decade ago, I could list so many microbrews that would just blow your mind.
Well, Alan's here in the chat. I want to say hey to him. Hope you're doing well. He also does say, to the point, I don't care for beer as a whole. Let me know what your drink of choice is below. Are you a bourbon guy, wine? What else do you? Because I do like a good bourbon every now and then. It's not often, but Bobby also says, isn't The Rock in trouble right now for trying to kidnap a fellow wrestler's kid? I heard something about him. I don't know. Like I heard something about him being in some type of lawsuit, but I have no idea at all.
Trying to kidnap that, like that's some bold words.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those are some bold words, Cotton.
What's up, Candeezy? Hope you're doing well. Backyard Farmer agrees with you 100% Yeti. And then Nick, really quick, he says, did you guys hear the rumors about Indiana 5 flop in the box office?
I sent you a link before we started. So a couple showings, I believe, at the Cannes. I think it was the Cannes. I think that's in France or something. And
is it already out there?
So it's not an official release, but they're, because it's a film festival.
Mm-hmm.
So they often show movies before a real release. And it was like dead silent. So if you look in our little group chat, I sent you that link to that story.
Okay. I'll pull that up here shortly then. Because I did see a little bit of that trailer and it does sound very, very cringe, kind of like you stole from indigenous people or something crazy like that. I was like, oh my God, here we go. The typical. I'm not surprised though. But yeah, like getting back to this, like I said, the only people I've ever heard complain about this, and there was one article too where this activist that's running this commercial was talking about how when she was a kid, she saw these ads and she's like, oh, I would never, those are just scary. And I would never drink that beer because of those ads. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm sure when you were younger, not a kid, like a child, but like early 20s, the ads, this ad right here, obviously like that hurt your feelings or scared you. Like, come on, that's insane.
like kids aren't paying attention to that. And before we move on, have you noticed they blurred out every single model's face just so they don't have to pay them for this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're not stupid. Because if they have their face up there, then they owe them some money because that's another
Yeah.
ad, right? So
which I know in itself that seems kind of anti-woman to me. Like
yeah.
they're using their likeness, but they're like, oh no, they're taking money out of their pockets.
Well,
all
what's
to
ironic,
make this bullshit ad.
What's ironic too is a lot of these same activists that think this is disgusting and oh my god, like this is horrible, are the same ones that are pro OnlyFans and other things of that nature. Isn't that ironic?
Like I don't understand that at all. Like you are 100% right. They are so like, oh, it's pro sex unless you're an attractive model for beer or like NASCAR.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like,
it's a lot of hypocrisy, but again, that's what happens when you deal with these groups of people and some lunatics. But
there's no logical consistency.
No. Grave Review says, I live in Kentucky, so bourbon, but I do love a good sipping tequila on the rocks.
Oh.
Both sound very, very good for sure.
Dude, yeah, a good tequila. I can get behind that. There is one. I was in Mexico and my dad and I, we were drinking so much of that stuff. Just I don't we can drink. I'll tell you that much. Like
you put down some bottles, right?
We were putting down bottles and it was so smooth. We didn't realize like how much we're putting back, and neither of us like pass out. It's not in our genes to pass out. If anything, you just get a horrific hangover for a couple days because your body doesn't shut down the night of drinking.
I think the only time I've ever blacked out from drinking was tequila. So I don't go to it very often. I have since my youth and drinking it in excess and being stupid with it. But yeah, it is enjoyable when you are responsibly drinking it. Let's put it that way.
Especially when it's a good one. Like
yes.
It's night and day. I guess that goes for like most liquors and alcohol. When you've got a good quality one, man, does it ever taste so much better.
Oh yeah. All right, let's continue this ferocious thing here.
Look at this wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their but the whole beer industry's Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this and buying it back so that they can turn it into good for women brewers.
Buying
Literally,
it back?
Good
like,
yeah, I didn't understand that they were buying it all. First off, a lot of that old stuff, memorabilia, is pretty cool. Like a lot of people collect that stuff, but to buy it all back and then destroy it, and you're calling it shit. Like you're calling your own company's post-advertise or pre-advertisements shit.
And isn't it like, I don't know. I don't understand the constant use of expletives.
Oh, the profanity, yeah.
Yeah, like they are constantly saying like, oh, it wore on me the amount of times they said it. Like, okay, once or twice, if you're doing it, like there's comedic effect, but they're just going nonstop. It totally I know it drove me insane. It just undercut everything.
And she claims to be a comedian, number one. So, but two, as Hank says here, yeah, it's the ultimate virtue signal. This is all fake, and we know that it's she's just a paid shill like the rest of them. But what it reminds me of when I thought about this was, if anyone who's an old or is a South Park fan from back in the day, remember that episode where I think it was like they say shit in the episode like 100 times. That's what this reminds me of, because it's like they're intentionally trying to use it over and over and over again. It's very mind-boggling to me.
How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad shit into compost. Then we feed compost to worms. Push out beautiful fertilizer. That good shit helps farmers grow quality hops.
How much better would this part of the commercial be if they're in bikinis?
Honestly, I don't think there's any in here that I want to see in bikinis.
No, but
yeah, these women are not up to.
No, really good.
I also don't believe they're beer brewers.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah, you think they're working the line? No way.
No.
In your attic, in the garage.
Have you ever met a beer brewer? Like they're not doing that.
Yeah, it's this commercial is compost exactly. And as Candy says, real women do not care because we are not the market. Yeah, I mean, I've
Yeah.
never had someone, seen a woman like not want to drink a beer because of an ad or whatever. They just it normally, and in the in an article I'm going to pull up later about the Bud Light stuff, they said they made a very, very good point that you could take Bud Light, whether it be Miller Lite, Coors Light, right, and you could pour it all into a red Solo cup before and give it to someone blindly, and realistically, they'll have zero idea which one it is because it all tastes the same, and that's
Yeah,
the
all
point,
of
right?
those.
Like, yeah,
Well,
there's nothing that makes it stand out. So by now making one of those offensive and just turning your fan base away or your consumer base, now they have 5 other options they can go to and literally get almost the same thing.
I mean, and let's be honest, if you're drinking light beer, you should just chop off your penis anyways. It's the same thing.
Well, that's where they're leading to with a lot of this stuff. Yeah, Trish says people have to realize these corporations don't care. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of us know, and I think a lot of people are waking up over the past handful of years, especially keep in mind June is right around the corner, and we all know what's coming in June. So that's Pride Month. So you're going to see all kinds of stuff
I didn't
coming
even
out.
know that was supposed to be Pride Month. Like,
Oh yeah,
it feels like every month, because every single month there's like they're always putting out the it's the icons and stuff. Like, how did how did it go to a month too? I remember when there was like the Pride Day or week for the parade, and then it's like, oh, okay. How did that go to a full month?
well
When
now
did that happen?
it's like Pride life, I feel like, because it's down our throats literally. Like, how many days do you go without it being in your face some way or another? It's always in your face somewhere. So
Oh yeah, it's raining cocks over here.
yeah, basically.
Send any shit you got into Miller Lite, and they'll turn that into good shit too.
That was the moment he's like, oh, I got to segue
So here's
away
to
from
women.
that.
Yeah, did she just taste that?
Yeah, that another, like, it's supposed to be funny. It's like that wasn't funny. Like,
Yeah. Poor
like
comedy.
what's the joke? Oh yeah, it's fertilizer. Fertilizer, it doesn't smell right. It's poop. Like,
Exactly.
what's the joke?
So, and I'm not going to play this other video I have here, but as I said earlier, a lot of people are talking about how, like I said, I did a video, and a lot of people were coming and said, well, I'm willing to give Miller a pass for this. This is just a bad take, right? Well, like I said, there's this other video here. It's 2 minutes long. I don't know if I want to play the whole thing, but it goes into their DEI programs and all of their ESG score nonsense. It says here's Miller Lite's internal woke messaging for their employees. Either you support DEI, which is diversity, equity, or inclusivity, or you can't work here. And it dives into it and goes into it. Here's another thing, part of it, where it says they also have a safe spaces program.
Jesus Christ.
Where employees
You work for a beer company, man. Like,
well, listen,
this isn't a high school. Like,
earn a badge and become allies against oppression.
So
like,
earn a badge?
It's like,
do you know who else
Scouts.
gave out badges for good participation?
I don't know if that was good participation, but it was participation nonetheless. But yeah, so it's pretty insanity to me. It says company employees can take part in the program by showing their support and engagement with a badge in their email signature saying they are willing to be allies. So that's how they weed you out, right? If you're not willing to do this, and that's the same thing we see with pronouns, for example, where companies now are like requiring you to put pronouns in your emails and stuff.
I call a little bullshit on that. So I'll let you finish your thing, and then I'll.
So that shows you, okay, like, we're going to force this, and if you disagree with it and you're not on board with it, well, then we need to remove you.
Okay, so the flip side is most people hiring, when they see pronouns in the resume, they discard it, and there's a ton of metrics around that. So I don't fully buy that it's being implemented in the workplace for the pronouns, because the people hiring don't bother looking at that at all. It's like, oh, you're going to be a problem employee because I see this pronoun there. We know what's going to happen as soon as we hire you. So nope, that one's in the trash can.
Now, maybe small business, maybe, but when you're talking about major corporations that are like this, for example, and Bud Light, Miller Lite, Anheuser-Busch, these major, massive corporations, your Best Buys, those, your Disneys, they're requiring it. The government, they're requiring it.
Government always does that. And government is, if the government's doing it, it's a sheer sign that the business shouldn't be following because the government is terrible.
So, well, here's the problem when it comes to this, right? So this is another, let me get rid of some of these so I know not to come back to it. I don't want to I have already 1,000 tabs it is. So it says here, so many Fortune 5 companies are going woke, and here is why. The CEI Index, Corporate Equality Index, a rating system rewarding companies that push the LGBTQI, I didn't know there was an I, messaging, ESG. Investors use this measure to screen a company's corporate policies, diversity, and equity. BlackRock, the world's biggest investor and asset manager with $8.6 trillion in assets, they hold assets and investments at every major company and push the CEI and ESG onto these companies. HRC, Human Rights Campaign, world's largest LGBT lobby group, who created the CEI index, they score companies based on how inclusive they are. They receive a higher score if they push LGBT and trans ideologies to their consumers.
Okay, let's be honest. Isn't it just trans ideology at this point? Like, everyone else in the LGBT doesn't matter. Like, nobody's pushing anything about that. It's gone down to pride for trans. There's nothing else being shown, right?
I mean, technically, yeah, but it all falls under one umbrella because that's what but as of late, yes, the trans section of the LGBTQ community, the LGTV community, that's the main focus anymore is the trans thing. David says here too, we had at his, I guess, school. Yeah. We had a meeting yesterday and one of the Student Body Government Association members said that with Pride Month, we'll be focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's everywhere. Schools do that. I was talking to somebody and they said that their child was like, they were doing like the introductions for school, like colleges, like the interviews or whatever, getting them into college. And they said that they all address them. Hi, these are my pronouns, blah, blah, blah. Like it's indoctrinated everywhere. And they're starting these kids really young with that crap.
Yeah. The first place where it all sprouted up was universities and colleges. Mm-hmm. Like, that's as soon as they solidified that portion of power, it started to infect everything else because they had teachers in those positions pushing these things that start to trickle down into business, all the other areas. It could all be traced back to universities and colleges.
Yep. And
it really can.
That was the thing. Remember, this all got exposed a couple of years ago in the colleges, right? Like, that's where a lot of this came out. And now, right, if you remember, we didn't really hear about a lot of this stuff coming out of public schools, like at the greater, like 12, 11, 10th grade, or even younger. We didn't hear that then. But now, after we heard that big breakout where like kids are being indoctrinated in college and all the summer of love back in 2020, they realize people like college admissions are starting to drop because people are like, I'm not going to colleges. I'll go to trade schools and do other things of that nature. So then they adjust. So now they're going after kids at a younger age because
it's not just adjusting. It's the people that were trained finally aged up and got into those positions. Like, because they were indoctrinated, 15 years before they really got to their positions, right? So it's a slow trickle, and they reach the positions in the public schools.
But you got to understand, these aren't individuals. This is at a greater level than just one teacher pushing it. You see school boards pushing this. You see teachers' unions pushing this. So
it stemmed from a whole group of like highly ideological people in universities across North America pushing it. And because, universities have always been kind of known for a certain a certain leaning, and then it trickles down from them, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, but what I'm saying is with the school unions and stuff, these people that are running these school unions didn't get out of college last year, right? They've been in these positions for a very, very long time. They're normally older people that never pushed this stuff, 5, 6 years ago at the 6th grade level. Then all of a sudden now is rampant. Well, that's not by accident. That's not by like, oh, well, we hired this one leftist from college and now all of a sudden we're going to put it in our curriculum. It's because the unions and all these people are getting money from somewhere. If you follow money, you understand where all this stuff is coming from.
Well, it's they would have also hired like several thousand people that are going to the boards and saying, "Hey, why aren't you pushing this?" After they graduated from being indoctrinated, and then they're actively pushing against any board to get it in there. And if the board members aren't agreeing, they like just turn on them, call them racist, sexist, homophobic, get them fired. So it's like they're just turning on their heads, like, oh, okay, we'll push it.
Well, yes, but I think it's also too. There's just no way it's all coincidental that every single major corporation in the country or in the world now are pushing this stuff. All colleges are pushing this stuff. All grades, like that's no way that it's just all from college kids from the past 10 years. It's not just that. This is from, I think, in my opinion, a larger scale thing because you have governments on board. There's no way Joe Biden just on, oh, I'm 80 years old. I've always hated this stuff. I never thought about it. I didn't want my kids going to school with black kids. He's openly said that. And now all of a sudden he's just all on with the program. No, this is all about Marxism. This is all about
but those are the most
agenda.
The most vocal, angry people in any sphere on Twitter, in the community associations. Like they just yell and scream. Whenever you see the videos, they are just beside themselves, screaming at the top of their lungs. And to get them to shut up, you're just like, okay, I'll do what you want,
Yes, but I think this is on a grander level than just a bunch of idiots online screaming and they want to appease them. I think this is more of a, again, 2030 agenda, New World Order situation than, because if you think about it, maybe it sounds conspiratorial and that's fine, but that's what I believe is that it's not just everyone's just on board because a bunch of loud, crazy, blue-haired idiots, and now we're going to make our Ford Raptor gay.
No, I'm not saying that part wouldn't have happened overnight. It's the exponential growth, like it germ theory, that the way those things travel, like one person, it will infect 5, that 5 infects 5 more. It's just exponential growth. And so it finally hit that tipping point and they're all like infesting these other areas and started to like take control and age into positions where they could start asserting even more power, which then spread it even further. Does that make sense?
It does, but I disagree. Okay. I agree with it in a sense, but I think also it's there's strings attached that are at a higher level here. Like the people that are really pushing this, like I said, the people running BlackRock, the people that are tied with the CCP that are pushing all this stuff, right? Because, again, a lot of this stuff leads to Marxism, communism, social credit score, Green New Deal, all this stuff. It does all tie together. You can't... Go ahead.
Oh, and when I'm saying where it originated, we're going way back to the 50s and 60s where it was those things are starting, because there was a whole I don't know, I can't remember his name, but it was a Marxist from Russia. He was part of the KGB.
He defected. Yep.
Yeah, he wrote an entire book of how to destabilize nations, and everything that's going on is the playbook. And one of the things, education. Yes, it started there, way back in the 60s.
But it's the people that ran. It's the people that ran those too. So if you look further into NATO, who ran NATO, who was in charge of NATO, things of that nature. Like, for example, Klaus Schwab, he's been around forever. He's not like 40. He's like, he's World War II. His dad was like an actual soldier in that certain army that I can't say on YouTube. These people were, Soros, right? Those kinds of natures. They've been around forever. They have unlimited amounts of money, and they are the puppet masters behind a lot of this stuff. Again, that's my theory. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, and when I'm talking to you, we're like splitting hairs because we both agree what's going on. It's just like trying to figure out the root cause and how it's spreading. And like,
it's a mix of both. Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with you that, there's money involved. I'm just like trying to dig deeper in how it got to that point where they were able to acquire that money,
Well, I mean, Klaus Schwab and all of them had money, and George Soros, I think, was I don't know how he's got money.
And then they push other people in. Anyways, we're just.
Did you see this by the way with Adidas? I think it's Adidas. I'm pretty sure this is women's not women's. Well, it's supposed to be women's, but it's men's swimwear, and there's like a tuck feature or something with it.
So I didn't see that one, but I saw the ones where it was in Target and they had little, like we're talking small children swimsuits with tuck features, and it like that boiled my blood. Like that is so beyond disgusting that it's going down to children. Like where little children, their bathing suits. Like,
well, that's their goal, right? Like if they want to get it in their head when they're younger. And if they do that kind of stuff when they're younger, again, the sounds crazy, but if you look into it, and this isn't like conspiracy, it's openly being discussed that they want to lower the population of the world. Like they say there's too many. How do you do that? Well, let's see. If you can't reproduce, if men think they're women, then they're not going to be attracted to other women for the most part, and they're probably not going to have children.
And the overpopulation, such a it's bullshit.
Oh, I know. If anything, it's under.
Yeah, and now there is something to be said about like rampant population growth because there's a certain sustainability, but trying to decline populations, one, straight up evil, and two, it's gonna cause an absolute economic world collapse. Like you can't just get rid of like half a population and expect everything to run the same.
Well, I think
we saw that during the whole pandemic.
That's
like,
the goal, though.
That's the goal, but it's going to end up killing even more, and you're going to have like total fracturing of nations. And like if the population crashes to like that type of point, then you have to start bringing people back to small communities to start doing farming so that they can feed each other, because the only reason we're able to grow is our collective skills together, that we're able to trade for goods and services that keep everyone sustained, and if you get rid of too many, people have to contract into small areas.
Well, they don't want individualism. They want you to control or be relying on the government, and they want that's why they're trying to get rid of individual farmers. They don't want people grow. That's why it's illegal in some places to just gather rainwater, because they don't
understand that at all.
I do. They don't. If I don't rely on the government, I don't need them. Therefore, they work for me. If I need them, then I work for them. Then I'm at their bidding versus the opposite. So that's the problem. We need less government involvement. We don't need more. And we see what's going on, at least in the States on this side of the aisle, is with the federal government and all these three-letter agencies that are rampantly corrupt and doing all kinds of nonsense. And what's crazy is they've manipulated so many people. It's like, well, they're doing it to the guy that we don't like, so it's okay. It's like, well, if they do it to him,
they're going to do it to you.
Yeah. What if you become the guy they don't like? Then what?
That always happens. Like there's not a period in time where something like that goes on where it does not flip and start to take out the people that are supporting it. Happened in communism.
Yep.
Like the people that were the ardent supporters were the first ones to get killed.
Yeah.
In Minecraft.
Yeah, in Minecraft, absolutely. So this is, I wanted to play this video. Like I said, so this is some of the things they were talking about, like the Ford truck. This was actually released last year. They announced it, but it's kind of that's another one where it's kind of popped up again.
Yeah.
And then all this other nonsense.
I did watch the Ford commercial. Like, it doesn't come out till the very end. It just looks like it looked like a good car commercial. Then at the end, it like water splashes and you start seeing the paint job. Like,
yeah, and then it got gay. Then it got gay.
Yeah. But it's like before that, like, oh, it's this badass truck, like trucking through mud and all that, you know.
I miss back in the day when it was like, you know, I have no problem with anybody who's gay or like back in the day, like I've worked with people like that. Like, I don't care. Like it's live, let live. But now it's to that point where, again, it's like we're making you do things. So for example,
but you have to celebrate it, otherwise you're a problem.
Well, that's part of the whole Marxist stuff, right? It's like if you don't show in your email, if you don't, kind of like you ever seen Office Space?
Yeah.
Remember, he's like, oh, well, you're only wearing the minimum amounts of flair.
Yes.
That means, you know, it's very similar to that. It's like, well, you're doing bare minimum. We need you to do more. We need you to do more.
No, we need you to want to do more. It's not we need you to do more. You have to want to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Like, because one of the lines, like, okay, well, tell me what the minimum is. Well, they need you to want it. They need you to want to praise it. That's the goal.
Yep. And Backyard Farmer says, yes, just be self-sufficient as possible. 100%. Learn, grow your own vegetables if you can, you know, even on a windowsill, if you live in an apartment, do what you can. Collect, you know, water if you can, get some chickens if you can, do things of that nature. I know it's not obviously easy for everybody. If you could buy from a local farmer, that's better option than, you know, things of, you know, going to the Walmart, because now supposedly a lot of this stuff is going to be put into your food. So
yeah, I am worried about that, man.
They're already talking about it. They said they've already done it with pigs.
Yeah,
cows will be next.
So what I've heard is like these things have been already injected without anyone knowing.
Yeah.
Like they've been using mRNA vaccinations in pigs and livestock, and then the next thing is to inject them with the type of vaccines or whatever you want the person to ingest. Like that's the next step.
Yep. So real quick, I want to play this about, and this is the pronoun stuff. This came out earlier today that I found that I thought was tied into a lot of this stuff. So this guy, Matt Lee, he is a boss, man. He is he's always there at these press briefings, and he really puts the screws to them, and he's pretty down the middle. He's not one way or the other. He's just a very common sense older guy.
This is where we were before. Like I remember high school, and like you said earlier, you don't care if anyone's gay. It doesn't bother me. Like
no,
we start off a point where it was acceptance and just not caring. Like it didn't mean anything. But now it's twisted into you must celebrate. You must do these things. Otherwise, you're not an ally, or you're not supporting people. Like what just happened to, like, you do what you want inside your own house. Like I don't give a shit what you do in your own house. It's none of my business. You're not me. I don't care what you do. Like if you could do drugs, I don't care. Like as long as you are not hurting other individuals. And then there's debates around like what drugs can do, like the effect. But you know what I mean? Like if you're doing that in your own house and not hurting anyone, it doesn't matter.
Yep. So real quick, I want to play this because I thought this was interesting. They kind of talk for a little bit for no reason, but here.
I'm not going to pull up my email from the
post. Oh, no, you don't need to show it to me.
Yeah.
I want to notice. I want to know if you've noticed anything different in the from line where it gives the sender.
So he's asking him to pull up his
No,
email.
Matt, this would be a lot better if you would just
All right,
ask
I'll
us what
just
your
ask-
question was.
Well, I mean,
No, he
so you haven't
knows.
noticed
You
anything.
saw that face there.
Okay,
That
so
dude
within
knows
the
what
last
he's
hour
asking.
and a half, 2 hours, the State Department's internal email system, and I've tested this, so I know that it's true, has added pronouns to people's, not their signature, but to
Whoops.
their from where you know where it says from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it will say him, he, his, or her, you know,
Yeah.
her, she, hers. Why? This is not an optional thing. This is something that has been just arbitrarily imposed. And you know, understand that people could have their pronouns attached if they wanted them to a signature before, but this is not something that anyone has a choice about. And so I'm just wondering why and who made this decision.
Well, Matt, I have not seen this phenomenon for myself.
Okay, well, I have, and I'll show it to you.
And
as soon
is
as
it
we get-
just to ask you a question? Is it just for internal State Department?
Obviously
people when they're
not,
emailing
because
out?
I tested it.
So
I got
if
an
you
email
send
from
an email-
someone in this building, and whereas before it did not have any of these pronouns attached to the sender's name, it now does. And I've also been told from other people that many of them, or at least
Well, when you
2 or
send
3
it, does it?
So yeah, they go back and forth a little bit. So there you could see where everyone within the State Department, their email automatically get their pronouns thrown into there. And it's not just internal. It's also whenever you send it externally, it's just being forced.
So you don't have a choice in it. Like they've
No.
got an automated system.
They just went in and did it automatically, and they
is-
applied that everywhere. And I think honestly, like they're doing with everything else, well, and like for example, like the big banks and how banks are failing, right? They want to limit as many banks there are as possible, get more, maybe like 5 or 6, because if there's only 5 or 6 banks in the world that everyone banks with, they're easier to control, right? Versus 10,000. So same thing where companies are saying like, hey, you need to fall in line and do this, or you know, where you may not be able to work here. So I just thought it was pretty interesting that, of course, the government's doing it. We never know if other companies are going to be doing it as well. We see these major companies doing it where you could put a little badge in your email to say that you're an ally. And if we don't see that badge, well, then you're not an ally to what we stand for, and you may be a problem, you know?
But I doubt many people in the company like do it. I doubt there's many.
I think it when it comes down to those ESG scores, because even Disney said that their ESG score was low. It was a low score when they got graded, and now if you notice, yeah, it was not up to standard of what. And think about how much woke shit they put in there, and
like, how? Okay, then what's the rating system? Because like they are crazy over the top with the wokeness.
I mean, I don't know the super details, but they apparently did not get up to standards here.
Like, who's the one that has a high score? Like, what company has the high score? I want to know that.
I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying to find the article here real quick that I had. But that's the thing, right? So they openly announced that they're going to go even further into the buy-in of pride and all that other stuff. Like they're doubling down even more so on it when it comes to their upcoming content. So if Disney's pushing that, right, and they're losing money on a lot of these things. They know that. Same thing with like Bud Light. They're going to lose a lot of money on what's going on. Miller Lite's going to lose a lot of money on what's going on. All these companies know that they're losing money on it. But the problem is that you have, like I said, you have BlackRock, which people don't realize how big of an investment thing this is. Trillions of dollars. Like they have unlimited amounts of money, essentially. They could basically print their own goddamn money because the government's also tied in with BlackRock. When money doesn't mean anything anymore, and we've already seen that, like for the dollar at least, there's no gold standard. It's just literally paper. They can print it and it doesn't matter, but they'll tax shit out of us, so we don't have more of it. But they just have an unlimited supply. So that's why I said profits, they're even saying, aren't like the main goal anymore. They're more concerned about being up to standard with investments and the ESG score so that companies like BlackRock don't stop pouring money into their company. Because yes, like Disney, like Disney will
Sure.
go ahead.
No. Please finish. So, because I felt like you're going to say where you got the info from.
No, I don't even remember what I was going to say now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Because a company can't function without profits. Like, so there's a certain, okay, so you can have revenue, but there's a certain point where there's an expectation that you're going to hit profitability. Netflix, very good example of this, because I don't believe they have ever been actually profitable. They make a ton of revenue, and there's future potential, which has allowed them to get loans and continue to function as they do. But they're not making profit yet. Their business model is well funded and believed in, which allows to project profitability in like 10 years, and they're allowed to maintain that because of potential growth. But if they're never making money, there's no way that they can get any loan. Like if there's no point where they're going to start making actual profit, no one in their right mind would give them out a loan because they couldn't pay it back.
Well,
So
that's the thing though. So like I understand they can't pay back the investment, but if they're being controlled, right? So eventually people are if you only have 3 beer companies in the world, they're going to keep pushing it into it. Let me try to find the article real quick.
Well,
like I said, go ahead.
that would just and we've seen this. A beer company might be a bad example because we already saw the fracturing of the beer industry into microbrews, because there was a very small amount of large companies going into like the 2010s, and that ended up fracturing and causing a whole ton of microbrews to emerge, and people kind of swarmed to those because they're doing significantly better beer for like better prices and better taste, better marketing, and that caused a very big collapse of the large beer companies.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just like I said, this says here I can if a company is willing to if an investment company is willing to just keep investing into the company and pouring unlimited amounts of money, even if it's not profitable. I mean,
But it's got to have a worth to it. Like if there's no potential, there's no worth. So what would be the reason? It maybe I'm like thinking it in too linear, or in a naive way, where the point is control, and to keep those companies, propping them up so they just exist, so you exert control over things rather than ever expecting a profit. But that if you're a smart businessman, you could see that that's what they want, so you want nothing part of that. Like you could they're going to kick down your door and keep you under their thumb.
yes,
like
and
that's not a good.
I think you're thinking in the sense of like like you investing in a stock, or me. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't have unlimited amount of money to do that. But like you said, you hit a nail on the head there about exerting control over things, right? So like why do you think Ford does this stuff? They know that stuff's not profitable. They know that no one's going out there buying these Raptors that are these $60,000 vehicles covered in, the gay flag. Like it's just not, they're not doing that. That's just not, no one's doing that. I've never seen one. I'm never going to see one. And if you do, you're going to maybe see 5, right? That's all of them. But they're doing this for a reason. So if people are investing an unlimited amount, like a BlackRock that has $8 trillion and an unlimited amount of revenue and an unlimited amount of money to spend, and they're willing to keep spending it into that company for doing exactly what they're asking them to do, why would they stop?
Because you'll dilute the company to a point where you no longer own it. Like there will be a point, and the CEOs, they're not dummies. They didn't get to that point by being an idiot. At least for
Miller
the most
Lite
part,
doubled down on Miller Lite CEO doubled down yesterday.
Yeah. So there's these examples where they're doubling down, and you're just going, what the hell is going on? Because at least before this point in time, the CEOs were not idiots. They were cutthroat, hardened businessmen or women that worked to make sure their business was on top and achieved profit. Like that was the ultimate goal, to be successful and self-sustaining and to grow. But if the point now is no longer to hit that, and it's just to get an ESG score for investment, then what is the point of the business anymore? Like there's no point. You're not making money. You're constantly just going into debt. You can't sustain that. And at some point there would have to be a foreclosure. Otherwise, you're just selling off all your assets, all your stocks, just to keep the doors open for a couple more days to BlackRock.
So here's I don't know if you guys can see this because I'm showing.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. I don't know if you can't read it. I'll read it to you. So it says here, it may not be enough for companies to make profits anymore. An increasing number of investors are incorporating their values into their long-term investing strategies through the lens of environmental, social, and governance concerns, or ESG. An increasing number of publicly traded companies are also using ESG principles in their corporate framework. ESG is a big trend and will continue to be a part of corporate structure moving forward as its relevance continues to grow. As the trends play out, investors need ways to evaluate how companies perform from an ESG perspective. So the ESG, if it continues to fail, might have to change based on what I'm reading here. Some investment firms have stepped into this void to provide ESG scores for companies. Go ahead.
No, it will have to change because the ESG is killing companies. Like the current thing is unsustainable. There is no way you can keep a company going without making profits, because these ESGs are actively pushing away a customer base. And you cannot just like Disney, we know, has tried this to change their customer base. They did it with Star Wars. Well, they failed to do it with Star Wars. But they're like, oh, Disney is known as the princess company, so let's buy some boy kind of products and have that go forward. Then they tried to switch that because they thought there's going to be some magical new group of consumers that were going to flock to and support them. But what we know happened is it turned away all the old customers, and they stopped spending money, and they didn't get anyone new in the door. So that sustainability it's not there. You can't keep that going with the current ESG perspective.
Well, but that's the thing, though. So Pops makes a very good point here. Everyone needs to remember that they are playing the game with our money via the government directly, and then with your retirement account. Edward Jones, Morgan Stanley are all driven by ESG as well. So remember, as also the government invests in this. The government has a hand in a lot of this money, bailout. So we've seen that with like Chevrolet, Ford, where now they're all going to notice everyone's shifting to electric. Well, that's because of the push from the government, right? Reality is,
that's going to bite everyone in their ass. But sorry, go ahead.
I would say but it won't, though, because if Chevrolet collapses, what happens? They get bailed out by the government. The government has unlimited amount of money. The government literally prints their own money because money doesn't mean anything anymore. There's no gold standard.
But then it's hyperinflation, and then
look at today.
Yeah, we're heading in that we're heading in that direction right now, which like terrifies me. That hyperinflation is like a couple doors away, and if it's not controlled, you're going Zimbabwe, and then
that's what's going to happen. Well, the other thing too they're doing. Remember, what's coming is like the social credit score stuff and carbon footprint kind of thing. And everything is going to be going digital. So they'll be able to say, well, whoa, you bought too much. And New York just announced it. By 2030, they're telling, actually by now, I'm going to pull it up because I have the picture. They are telling people, like households, you can only buy so much meat per household because it's bad. Their carbon footprint is bad. They're already doing that in New York.
Do you
So
think that's okay? So I believe you that's because I think that is their goal. Like we've seen it. I mean, Bill Gates is the number one farm owner in America right now. He has bought so much farmland. It is absolutely terrifying.
yeah,
And then they're going out and saying, "Oh no, you should eat bugs." Like that's being pushed by the WEF. And everyone I tell about that, like too, is like they look at you funny. It's like, I'm not going to eat bugs. And they're not watching these types of things right now where we can see what they're saying. But the point I'm trying to get to is when it gets to that point, do you think the average person is going to just accept eating bugs? Like they're not going to buy the hamburger because the government said they had a little too much in that month. So eat your crickets instead.
well,
Like
I mean,
that's an over.
that's why the Second
Minecraft.
Amendment is so important in Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm trying to choose my words just to not get you in trouble. But I don't see the average person accepting like that is a bridge too far. There's a certain point where you can push people. They put up with a whole bunch of things because like, oh yeah, they just want to be left alone. So they'll go along. But as soon as it starts impacting like real daily life sorts of things, I think they will snap.
Well, I agree, but they're prepared for that. So here, let me zoom this in here. So New York City will track carbon footprint of residents' food purchases. Mayor Eric Adams admitted New Yorkers were probably not ready for this conversation. New York City will track the carbon footprint of residents' food consumption as a part of sweeping initiative to decrease the city's carbon emissions from food by a third this year.
Oh, Jesus.
So again,
hey, if you want to do that, outlaw fast food.
The other mayor tried to do that. Bloomberg tried to do that a long time ago, and everyone threw a hissy fit. He started charging taxes on like soda pop and stuff.
Exactly. Yep. People freaked out when they were no longer, and that was pop. That's not a steak or a burger. That was just a soda drink. And like it was a ridiculous idea. But I see where he's coming from. Like, oh, you can't have a soda over this like certain side. You can't have the liter soda.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, Adams has asked private corporations to cut their own emissions by 25% by 2030. Remember, 2030 agenda. It all leads back to that. Insisting New Yorkers' wasteful eating habits cannot continue without imperiling the planet, which is such bullshit. Oh, here's your here's who's going to be stopping you, by the way. Robot dogs and things of that nature. Because have you seen these things?
Yeah, I have. And it's like, oh, my mind is going down the rabbit hole.
I know.
Looking, like I can see where all this leads, but there's a certain tipping point where if people stand up, there is nothing the government can do. Like and I can't stand this argument and like, oh, the government has nukes and tanks. Like, well, they had nukes they had tanks and helicopters in Iraq, but that got just overrun by a big group of people. They left it all there. You have a big enough group of people with sticks and and rocks in their hand. Government can't do shit. You just have to have enough people standing up,
Well, I agree, but that's the whole point of why the Second Amendment is so important, because that's literally the purpose of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, if you look, is not for self-defense. It's not for me to have something in my house and protect from a bad guy coming in. That's included. The main purpose of that is for tyrants fighting your overall government. That's what it's for. It literally says there to stop from a tyrannical government. So that's what they're scared of, and that's why they I'm not going down the rabbit hole of like
get in trouble.
This not on this stream. The situation with like Vegas, right? How that happened, and then we don't hear about it anymore, or a certain thing that happened in Nashville where we don't want to hear that information, right? Like all this is just, we hear about it and then it just goes away and we don't hear anything. Or we hear about it and then all of a sudden you know everything about that person within 10 seconds. And it's like, it's like you kind of had that ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there's, oh God.
But we went way off the ranch here on topics, but it's still very good. Like but here's the thing though, what a lot of people don't realize, whether it's you're talking about Disney and all their woke stuff going on in Hollywood, or the culture war in general about like your pronouns and Bud Light and all that stuff, it all ties together. It all
and that's where we got where we are, because like that's the end point. Like, because I can't see it going another way, like unless they come up with some crazy ways to pacify the population. There's a certain point where people just go, no, I'm not going to take it. Like people just won't accept a certain point. And like looking at these things, they all lead to that exact same point. And I just have I have a hard time believing that they'll just roll over.
Yeah, I mean, I hope people don't.
And I don't want it to go to these dark places.
No, man, I think everyone just wants to be left alone. It's like, hey, just leave me alone. So real quick, this is a thing that I saw for Bud Light sales. I got tagged in this on Twitter. But this is a graph of how much the Bud Light sales are down from all this nonsense. So 18%. Well, yeah, I figured where New York and California are the least affected, obviously. They're probably celebrating it. But everywhere else, pretty much, across the board, it's down somewhere between 23 to 29%. That's pretty heavy, in my opinion.
That's absolutely insane. This is the type of downturn that when I was writing those chats before, this is the type of thing that will make an actual change in the stock. Like these are significant. Like the day after the 5-day cycle, you can't trust that. But actual sales numbers that are hitting 30%, like the company is in so much trouble. I don't think you could just go to BlackRock and get that back. Like no, your company is gone. That's why I've been kind of pushing back on that thing where profit doesn't matter. Because this is 30, like, okay, easily 20% across the board. 20% is gone.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, so no, just that loss in profit cannot be made up with in just ESG investment.
I mean, there's got to be some type of math behind it that I guess makes sense for them. But that's why I think this has to be significant. And the cool thing about at least the Bud Light stuff versus like what we see with Disney, and I mentioned this in my last video, is that they can hide, and I'm using Disney as an example, but they all do this. They can hide their metrics. If you boycott something, like how, Star Wars and all that stuff, they can hide it. They can finagle the numbers. We even see, isn't Chapek getting sued or something for, playing shell games with the numbers when it comes to Disney? Like he's in potential legal trouble for this, right?
That happens all the time. Like the companies do that, but you can only hide those numbers for so long.
Well,
because the accounting catches up with you.
Well, with this though, specifically, these numbers come out almost daily, if not weekly, on what their projections of sales are and how much it's affecting them and stock. So we are actually seeing in real time how this boycott is affecting. And like I said, the couple videos that I've done, Justin's been hammering this stuff and seeing his comments stuff. A lot of people are like, I am done. Like there's no way, never going back, whatever. And right now the CEO is like, this is a drop in the bucket. This isn't a big deal, but it's going to affect them for sure.
Oh God. I don't know how I don't know how if you're the CEO and you're seeing these numbers, you're not staying up day and night trying to fix it. Like
Yeah.
you have to have your head in the sand to look at this and go, oh, we're okay. Like this doesn't mean anything. People are going to come back. No, you are the CEO will be fired by the shareholders, assuming there's enough shareholders and the CEO himself doesn't own the majority shares. That's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah, there's no way you can look at this and not be flipping out.
Yeah. Candice says at Blink-182 concert here in Minnesota, they only had Bud Light and no one was drinking it. I've seen that too. Multiple other concerts and stuff. Yeah, where they or even ball games, like they're going to that section because they have their own little area where they sell just Anheuser-Busch products.
Yeah,
and I mean it's stocked, man. They're sitting there like with nothing literally to do. It's pretty insane. And yeah. So it says here an ex-executive from Anheuser-Busch saying that this is working, a 26% dip in in-store sales. That's pretty significant in my opinion. And
I'm seeing it go on sale everywhere.
I mean, did you see the ad, like the rebate?
$20. But okay, I know somebody on Twitter said this, like they really don't know their market if they think guys are going for rebates. Yeah. I'm not sending, like, that is way too much work. You give me the price up front or I don't give a crap. Like I've never done a rebate because I just feel like you're going to get ripped off through it,
Well, you're not going to get it for 6 months later. And at that point, who gives it? Like,
who cares?
I'm not taking the time to fill that out. And for $20, like, come on.
No, if it was 10,000, okay. Now it's starting to worth my while. Now I might like spend some time filling out forms, getting my stamp, licking it, put in the mailbox. But like, otherwise, I'm not touching that.
Yeah,
so the fact that that's what they went with, like, it just tells you their marketing department needs to be overhauled.
And what I mentioned earlier, that article, this is the one I was talking about where they said, you could take pretty much 3 different light beers, pour each one into an individual Dixie cup or whatever. You're not going to know the difference. And he says, pour a Bud Light into an unmarked cup. People can't tell the difference. Bud Light's easygoing, generic, inoffensive appeal was the appeal. The appeal is now gone, but other brands have retained their inoffensive status. That's likely why Bud Light sales have fallen. So, like you said, I
100% true.
Made the point where, for example, right, like here in this situation, you don't like Bud Light, fine. A lot of people are like, I'm going to Miller now. Miller, like, all right, I'm done now. I'm going to go to Red Stripe or I'm going to go to whatever. So they can go to multiple other options. Whereas someone like Disney, if you need that Marvel itch, right, you can't go anywhere. You are kind of, you have to deal with their shit if you want Marvel, I mean, I don't recommend it, but if you want it, you still got to go to them to get it. Whereas here, there's multiple other options and there's nothing, DC and Marvel, they're so different from each other where, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to go to one for one specific item versus like the Bud Light crap. It's all just piss water. It all tastes the same. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And so, I was a beer rep for a while. So, like one of the things that I know, the big companies, they would battle back and forth for, we're talking single percentages of profit movement in a year. That is what they were fighting over to get that 1, 2, 3% extra in growth over the other guy. And that all came down to marketing because like you said, and like the article says, nobody can really, those mainstream big manufactured beer, they taste the same. There's no difference between each of those lagers, light beers. It's all the same thing. So the difference came down to how effective their marketing was.
Yep.
And that was what was used to turn and battle back and forth for single percentages of profits.
What
And
do you
Bud
remember?
Light,
Go ahead. I'm
sorry?
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and Bud Light single-handedly shot themselves in the foot and wrecked their entire brand. You cannot get that. Like, that is, they are going to have a 10-15 year marketing battle to bring that up, because the way the marketing to get yourself back in a good position is a long-term process, but it's very short to lose it. um uh Companies like Tim Hortons, great example. They've had this oh, maybe you guys don't know Tim's because that's a Canadian thing.
I know. Yeah,
But
I've seen them before. Yeah.
yeah, but they had all this customer goodwill that has helped them maintain profits, and that was built up over time. Now they're losing it because the product sucks now, and it
Yep.
is going down. But because of that 30 years of building it up, they've been able to maintain that. And Bud Light just like scrapped that overnight. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane. This is going to be taught in universities and marketing courses around the world as a case study.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting, like you're talking about the advertisement stuff, right? I remember very vividly. I mean, Bud Light's always had really funny commercials, like during the Super Bowl. I remember years ago, one of the funniest commercials, man, is this guy sitting on a balcony and he had a freaking a hawk on his arm, right? And he's like, "Watch this," and then the hawk flies off, and this is like they're in New York City. The hawk flies off and then flies back, and it brings him a Bud Light, and he's like, "Where'd he get it from?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then
Like,
and then they cut to the scene of like where the hawk was going, and it's an outside patio at a restaurant, and it's like, "It's coming back," and this giant hawk flies down. But see, that's the thing. I remember that commercial from literally like 10 years ago, and that's when like the dilly dilly. Remember with the armor or the knight when they're in the king and they're like dilly dilly and they're all like drinking Bud Light around the table and stuff like King
I
Arthur's
don't remember
court.
that.
Oh, dude,
I
it's
don't remember
hilarious.
dilly dilly.
Oh, look it up. It's hilarious. But that's the thing, right? You remember those ads. So the
Yes.
fact that now this one clown, literally clown dressed in makeup, changed,
woman
like
face.
erased all of that. Erased all of that. One thing I do want to say, look, Soul Assassin brings up this. I saw this everywhere. It said, I heard they're doing military themed cans now and angered the vets.
Yeah.
So
oh no, I'll let you take that because I think you know the info already.
Yeah, they do that every year for Memorial Day. They've been doing that for a long time. Like every single Memorial. I remember because it pointed out to me at like NASCAR races, you'd always see that, right? Like that's been going on for a very long time. So that's why like a couple people tagged me in that, and I was like, I'm not doing a video on that only because that's been a thing for a while. And again, they're also, I know they're pandering to Memorial Day, right? Just like they pander to everything, and just like Pride Month and everything else. But that has been going on for a very long time.
Well,
so I'm
there's
not
your
sure.
video, Matt.
What?
Like giving out the real information. Like, okay, so yeah, people aren't they might be searching for that because they think this is a real thing, but you know for a fact that they've done it every single year. So you could do 4-minute video just explaining like, no, this is normal. Don't go insane over this because they've done this every single year for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's crazy that like even it's like vets know this too. Like they've been doing that for quite a while. So I'm not angry by it. I don't like the pandering because it's no different than when they pander to that, they pandering to the, June Pride Month. It's literally the same thing. Like, do they really care about vets? They don't give a shit. Do they care about Pride?
No.
They don't give a shit. They don't care about anything. They care about, well, this is your month. It's going to appeal to you. So please buy our beer. That's literally all it is.
And they might make a charity that, raises 10 cents on a can. And that's just to say, oh, we care, but they don't really care.
Oh yeah.
They've got 6 other charities.
Soul Assassin. Remember the Budweiser frogs? Yeah, that was, I mean, classic. They always had such good marketing, and to destroy that legacy of marketing with literally, well, it was more than one commercial. But again, that's what happens when you hire these woke
It
activists.
wasn't even a commercial,
Well,
unless you're
yeah.
talking Miller.
No, well, I mean, the Bud Light stuff is technically commercials. That's just a different. It's not on TV. It was on TikTok. It was on.
Yeah, but
So it's
it
a
was
form of
yeah.
advertising.
So a form of advertising, but it wasn't a because okay, the way I'm looking at commercial is the self-produced from the company. This was they sent a can. They got
It's just
that
modern day commercials for the internet. That's all. They just
yeah,
adapted.
okay. So yeah, it was advertising, but it wasn't produced. And so that is a whole new wave of advertising because you're going to these so-called influencers because they've got a genuine attitude towards them that
Well,
you can't replicate through your own commercials.
well, here's the thing. Their commercial may get in front of a million people. That clown that they used, if he's got 5 million, 10
Yeah,
million, then he know, all right, well, our product's going to be in front of 10 million goddamn
yeah.
people. So, we're cutting pubic hairs here to call it an advertisement or not, or a commercial.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yes, it's not a,
We are.
it's not a, studio produced
Yeah.
commercial, but still they signed off on it and they said, hey, influencer, put this on, under your mug and
Yeah.
drink it. And
Put this on your Instagram and
yeah, just don't tuck it between your legs.
Oh God, no. That's in my head.
All right. So side
Okay.
note, go ahead.
Okay. Can they win back if they come out with a comical commercial about tucking beers between your legs to like sneak it into the game, like to get into the stadium? Something like that where you're leaning in and you're being tongue in cheek and just start making fun of how ridiculous
Well,
it is.
yeah, but that's what we said earlier, right? You are not appealing to the loudest group, so you're gonna lose, and that's
Yeah, but could you win back the people by leaning so because I think the average real consumer that like the comedy ads, they'd find humor in that and then they might forgive. Like,
well, the
can
problem
you see
is
that being like
I
an
I
avenue?
agree. I agree with you, but the problem is that anyone who disagrees with this stuff, what are they automatically labeled as?
Yeah,
So that's the
you have to
problem.
ignore that stuff.
You can't because mainstream media pushes it. Mainstream media is like,
Yeah.
oh, anyone that's not on board, and that's where it comes to that stuff like, oh, your flair, oh, your email, oh, you don't agree, you're automatically a Supremes, you're automatically a white Supreme automatically. So that's the problem. That's why these generalizations of these labels, they do that purposely because it's like, well, I don't want to be labeled as this. This is like the worst thing you can call somebody. So
Yeah, but
now
there's
you
a
have to
certain
avoid it.
point. Yeah, there's a certain point where they just have to go, no. And we've seen successful companies come up, not at the large scale that we're talking here. We're talking the smaller ones that have kind of pushed back and they found their own niche that way. It would be an entirely different thing. And that would almost be a cultural shift if a big company was like, hey, screw the media behind this, calling everyone ists and phobes. We're going to make this funny again.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, that's what we need.
Like I can see Bud Light returning because if they leaned into something funny and said screw the media and the words that are coming, they would probably have support again.
And Nick says, no, I don't think they can win people back. And honestly, I think now if they did the exact opposite what you're talking about, I still think it's too late. I think you've burned the bridge so bad and you've pissed so many people off because of how divisive this is, and you took a side to begin with. Now it's like, oh, well, now you're trying to pander just to get me back. Now I don't want you even, you know what I mean? So it's like,
that's why it had to be really funny. That it would have to be something that's culturally edgy It's like you're not really allowed to say, you would have to lean so hard into that, and then you don't let up. That is like that's the only way out.
I think the
And
only way they'd have to address it. I think they would have to say, "We apologize." I think that's the only way.
no, the apologies, nobody's going to accept apology at this point.
Yeah, but
It's way
I
too
think
late.
I personally don't think, in my opinion, that even if they did that, something funny, it would just be like, "Oh, you're just trying to appeal to me now purposely, and now you're being even more fraudulent. Like, we already knew you were fraudulent. Now you're even being more fraudulent because you're just trying to tell me what I want to hear. I don't want to be told what I want to hear."
Yeah, maybe. I'm
But I
trying to
understand
do a
what you're
thought
saying.
experiment. Like, how can that work? And I could see one path, but I also see what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, you're just being fake. You're just being extra fake.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like they're like in a lose-lose situation. If you apologize, people are gonna be like, "Oh, now you admit you did something wrong, F you," and tough. If they did the other way, they're like, "Oh, you're trying to just now appease to me now?" No, we know what you believe in and what side, quote unquote, what side you went with, right? So no, like I don't want anything to do with it. And either way, I feel like it's a lose-lose. Here, they just need to sell and rebrand. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't want you no more. I mean, and a lot of people are like, I'm done with it. So we'll see. It's definitely going to be something interesting to see how it moves forward.
not sell, but rebrand. But you're putting in place a 10-15 year marketing campaign where you are laying out over this period of time, because the brand in itself still has enough value. And I'm speaking in terms of like historical significance and the fact that everybody knows it. Like if you go to Joe Sixpack on the street or some random person and you tell them to name a few beers, their Bud Light's probably gonna be top 5, easily top 5. So
yeah,
that in itself has value. You wouldn't sell that. You wouldn't sell that, but you would have a focused campaign and understand you're not going to really see the profit for 15 years until you can win that back, because your road out of this is going to be long and hard, but that is the only way to go.
yep. So here's a funny moving away from the Bud Light stuff. This is not really a topic per se, but I saw this and I found it hilarious because it is kind of involved with this. So do you guys remember the non-binary ex-Biden official? He was like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. What's his name? He looks like that actor.
The guy that steals luggage.
Yeah. So, all right. So non-binary ex-Biden official has been arrested. He got arrested again as a fugitive from justice. Sam Brinton was arrested in Montgomery County, Maryland last night with 4 police cruisers swarming his house. Biden's ex-deputy assistant secretary of nuclear waste disposal, what a title there, who uses they them pronouns, was previously arrested and charged with stealing women's suitcases from Las Vegas and Minneapolis airports. So, I mean, to be fair, if I was serving this maniac a warrant, I would probably want about 5 squad. I'd want some backup too. This egg-shaped fella is a little scary.
Oh my God, it's just, oh my God.
If he identifies as innocent, wouldn't it be phobic to find him guilty? I do all my Christmas shopping at the airport. That's hilarious.
Okay, that was funny.
That's a good meme. That's hilarious. Oh God. Yeah, but that guy's a nut job. If you look into him at all,
absolutely insane.
So Trishina says, wait, again, why is he out anyway? Well, because we know that nobody gets held accountable for anything anymore. You can literally, I think, commit murder at this point and they let you out with like a warning until you know.
Well, unless you've got the wrong skin color against the wrong skin color. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
depends the situation.
It's got to be certain skin color, and man, I hate that. Like,
No, it's true. It's true. Unfortunately, it's like certain people just get, have, I don't know. It's crazy.
and like we've seen the exact same cases play out. Nobody said a thing when it involved different people. But like the subway guy, he was like, the police initially said he didn't do anything wrong, so they weren't arresting. But as soon as there was that giant blow up, like it was a public arrest, like a public forced arrest, which is a giant miscarriage of justice. Like, you can't, that's destroying your judicial word. Yeah, that you're destroying that system. Why can't I say that word?
I do that all the time. Oh, here's him stealing luggage. Here's a picture. He looks like a very angry person.
Aren't they always though? Like, have
yeah.
you ever seen like happy? That you never.
Oh
see
yeah, look,
them.
he's happy right there.
I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I don't know. God, what a lunatic. Let's see. In exchange for the plea deal, Britain was ordered to pay the woman back and given 180. There you go, and was given a 180-day suspended jail sentence for stealing. Days later, Britain agreed to undergo a mental health evaluation. Oh, that's probably.
But not idea. That was only related to the kleptomania. That had nothing to do with anything else, and none of that was going to be addressed. So, as part of a adult diversion program at the hearing, stemming from similar charges, because he's had multiple theft problems, so it's like they think he's a klepto. Which he is. Like, that's 100% a kleptomaniac.
I think. But he's specifically stealing. He's not just stealing random ones. He's stealing specifically women's, because he stole this. Like, this was from a woman, and then all the other stuff apparently is like from another woman. So I don't know.
It was like an Indian fashion designer. So that is the one thing. Like, if you notice, they leave that part out. But if this guy was say on the other side of the aisle, that would be they stole from the person of color. Like, that would be front and center.
Well, yeah.
So they'd be calling him racist and all that. And
so here's another funny article I wanted to bring up. And this is your neck of the woods, Yeti. Well, I don't know. Are you in Toronto? Well,
no, I'm not in Toronto. I don't like Toronto.
Yeah, I've heard it's a
that's a hellscape for me.
I've heard it's a pretty rough place, but anti-capitalist Pay What You Can Cafe in Toronto closes after 1 year in business. Now, I don't know if that surprises anybody, but that definitely doesn't surprise me. So it says
here's the thing that I'm going to bring back to the whole ESG. They weren't able to get any investment. So
no.
So the ESG doesn't. I don't think it means nearly as much as what's being put into. Like, it means something because there's real dollars going into the big companies, but it's not coming for any of the small ones, and they would qualify.
They don't want, but that's the thing though, getting back to Agenda 2030, they don't want small businesses.
I think that's true.
They're eliminated. They want, you want to go to get coffee? The only place, Starbucks, that's it. Or we'll give you one more. Like, they want to eliminate all of these so that you can only have 3 options, because it's easier to control things if there's only 5 banks, if there's only 5 major restaurant chains, if there's only that's the goal. So it's easier if you have 1,000 to pick from. Well, now you have, competition and whatnot. So reading this, it says, as self-described anti-capitalist cafe and coffee shop in Canada, named the anarchist with a pay what you can business model.
How many do you think just took a free coffee every single day?
Oh, absolutely. It says its owner announced in a statement blaming a lack of generational wealth seed capital from ethically bankrupt sources.
See, they couldn't get the ESG. They couldn't get it. Nobody wanted to invest in this because it doesn't make a profit. That's where where my entire argument came from. Like, business is business. You got to make profits in order to make money, because nobody really wants to support things that can't make money.
Yep. It says here, the cafe offered drip coffee to customers with a pay what you can price tag, while charging other beverages like espressos, tea, drinks, etc., as well as breakfast pastries to subsidize the lost revenue. It also allowed the public to use restrooms, hang out, etc.
Wait, so they would charge extra because they lost revenue on the coffee?
Well, I think it goes into the article here a little bit where it shows that they had higher price tags on other things because
it was the thing that you just read, unless I read ahead of you.
Well, there's another point, but it says, to subsidize the lost revenue, that it charged for other, not overcharge. It just says while charging for other stuff like espressos, teas, to subsidize the lost revenue.
Yeah, but subsidize that suggests that they increase the price of other things to make up for people taking free coffee.
Yeah, there's actually a complaint in here. Someone's like, yeah, everything was overpriced. So it says the so-called anti-capitalist cafe, shop, and radical community space on stolen land raised eyebrows.
What? Sorry, what?
The so-called, quote, anti-capitalist cafe, shop, and radical community space on stolen land raised eyebrows. That's what they called themselves. I don't know. See,
well, I tell you one issue right there.
Isn't that hypocrisy in itself? It's like they know they're on stolen land, but it's okay because they're using it. Like, shouldn't they not open up a coffee shop if it's stolen land?
Yeah, but I think that's asking a little too much.
Well, yeah, self-awareness for them is not a possibility. So it says locals also criticized what they said were high prices. Here you go. Were high prices at the coffee shop, calling the owner hypocritical for charging so much when he claimed to be against capitalist values and desires. Despite its closure, shop owner Gabriel Fewer called his short-lived business endeavor a huge success.
We've got different definitions of success.
Well, to be fair, they have different definitions with everything anymore. I mean, so
that sparked oh my god.
Yeah, a huge, let's see.
Who the fuck is writing raise the blood pressure conservatives? Nobody gave a shit about it. That's why it went out of business.
Living and working in ways that don't enthusiastically embrace the pure
oh my god.
Oh my all these big words. Big words. That means I'm smart.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, the lack of
took one class in university and thought he was a genius.
Yeah, gaslighting is second nature to them at this point. That's all they know how to do. Blame others, which he actually gets to at the end here. Unfortunately, the lack of generational wealth, capital, capital from ethically bankrupt sources left me unable to weather the quiet winter storm or to grow in the ways needed to be substantial long term. He ended his statement with a batch of expletives. Do you want to read that?
Fuck the rich. Fuck the police. Fuck the state. Fuck the colonial death camp we call oh, sorry.
That's okay. And then, we call Canada. And then he signed
Sims Fewer? Wait.
That's his last name.
Oh, okay. I almost felt like I was saying some slur I didn't know.
Oh, like a certain German word.
Yeah, like just the way that it ended there. That's what threw me off when I hit the colonial death camp we call what death camp? Nobody is. Oh my god!
You can't.
How is this a death camp in Canada? You could disagree and Trudeau sucks, but it's hardly a death camp. Like
Antifa coffee brand coffee. That's hilarious.
But that ending, oh my god, that made me like, wait, can I say that on YouTube? Like that makes me feel like
I'll find out later. All right, moving on to one of the funniest parts of the night. We'll talk about this next one really quick because I don't want to spend that much time on this, but I thought it was funny to bring up again of how Netflix's Cleopatra is It went up a little bit, but they're saying it's
They were purging. I
yeah,
guarantee.
they have to, or they're going in and trying to put more positive reviews in there to, to counter the quote unquote review bomb, because originally this was a 1% score.
Yeah, 1.
And it's now at 3.
Wasn't the tomato meter lower too?
It was 11 or 10, I think.
Okay, yeah, I think it was around there.
But still, this is a horrible show. Some of the things that I heard about and read about, I mean, they're changing history, and that's part of the problem, right? It kind of ties into everything we're talking about, is they're trying to make everything. So, like I said earlier, in my opinion, what they're trying to do with all this changing of history stuff is they don't want individual nations. They don't want individual cultures anymore. They want to mold and blend everything like it's just we're all one big conglomerate. And that's
Which
not
will
the case.
never work.
No, it's not natural. It's just not natural. Like,
It's
I want to go to Japan for Japanese culture, right? I don't want to
Yeah.
go there for a mix of like Palestinian or anything. And not that I have anything wrong with those cultures, right? But like, there are specific cultures for specific reasons. That's just how it always has been. There's borders, there's individual countries, individual states, and this kind of stuff just blends it all together.
And especially because like the Earth is huge. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you know this, but the Earth is big.
Oh yeah.
And with that bigness comes a lot of different regions with that has different ideas and food, and that creates its own little culture. You're never going to be able to get rid of this.
No.
Like if we're looking like say 100, 1,000 years in the future, I think the best that's going to be able to happen is have like a global set where each region has their own ambassador to discuss global issues. Like not the UN, because they suck and they're just absolutely terrible. But
the UN is the worst thing ever created. But
yeah, it's just but a reforming of the UN, like what happened with the Legion of Nations. Right? They changed that to become the UN. You'd have to change that because you're not going to get rid of different cultures. It's never going to happen with humans.
Yep. And yeah, and obviously Jada Pinkett Smith was included in this. And, now look, I'm not sitting here saying that Cleopatra was, like some ivory skinned woman. I highly doubt that. But she definitely
she was Greek Macedonian. So olive skin.
Yeah.
But it was Greek.
The argument that they say, and why is that, like, because they don't know, I think, her mother's heritage. So they're like, but we've seen depictions of her from long ago, whether it be statues or paintings or anything like that. And those depictions are always like fair skin, not what they're calling, like they literally said that why can't she be a melanin sister? That was a quote, or a black African queen. And it's like, are you out of your mind?
We know her heritage. We know the heritage of basically every single ruler in Egypt, and there were a couple I believe black rulers, but we know about them because it was a unique circumstance that stood out. So it was not the usual. The usual was like the Greek Macedonian, like that's who was ruling over Egypt at the time.
Yeah. And a backyard farmer says the Reaper did some research into each scholar. 3 are radical Afrocentrists, and 1 slept her way into her professor's position. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. But yeah, so, and even besides the race swapping, which again, we've all argued it. Race swapping kind of sucks, right? I've seen examples where they work when it comes to, like, say, a Marvel show. Like, I think Nick Fury, I've used that example before. That's
because he was a really good actor and it wasn't a historical documentary.
Exactly, right? Like, if you own a fake cartoon character, it's a little bit more, like, passable and understandable than actual history. Yeah. When you start to bend actual history, everyone's going to have a problem. Like an Egyptian lawyer and a lot of people from actually like Egyptians are suing Netflix over this, which
the Egyptian government is.
And I don't know. They're wanting to block it, right?
Yeah. Like they're upset. Like, so even the Egyptians are like, no, this is bullshit. And the Egyptians know that Cleopatra like didn't look like them. Like even the people that are governing the region right now understand that she had a different heritage because that was history, but it led into their current heritage. So it's important.
And Soul Assassin says she's from the what? I don't know how to say that word. What is that? Ptolemy?
Ptolemy?
I didn't know if P's silent. Here, hang on.
Yeah, Alexander the Great's generals. Yeah.
Hang on.
So swummy, slippy, slappy, Samsonite. I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
One of those, right?
There was heavy inbreeding with Cleopatra. Heavy inbreeding.
That's horrible. That's lovely to know.
Yeah,
but no, it was the thing.
It's how the royals worked, and that's why they all look jacked up.
Yeah, that's why they're all little. It's like the hills have eyes.
Yeah.
But, but I didn't want to spend too much time on this. I just thought it was hilarious, and I've also seen some clips on Twitter. They say the acting is just god freaking awful. Like it's cringeworthy stuff. It's like even worse than like the old History Channel type of dramas. Remember they did those back in the day? So, but it doesn't surprise me. This is how I don't understand how these companies make money, right? It's like, you got to quit at some point. You got to quit blowing your money on this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And Netflix is in trouble, and I believe the CEO is starting to try and make some changes after like 5-10 years of seeing this bullshit wokeism play out over and over again where nobody likes it. Starting to put forward actual things that are going to make money. What not the Exterminator. It's that new one.
No idea.
Anyways, action movie they're putting more money into some things that they believe is going to make money. They're also putting a whole ton of money into Korean.
I did see the Korean stuff.
Yeah. And, that's because of like Squid Game and stuff like that, where it was Extraction. Yeah, Extraction.
Extraction.
That's the name. So they're putting money in there, but what I find amazing is they don't understand why Squid Game was successful. It's not because it was a foreign film, from Korea. It was a unique story with good actors that told an original idea without like heavy-handed ideology behind it. If that same story came out with English actors, and as long as they were good, it would have been just as big as a hit,
So real quick, I want to bring this up because I just found this. Early reviews are starting to come in, and Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny, we're sitting at, it's only 8 reviews, so I mean, take that for what you will, right? But 50% tomato meter from the critics. Now, we all know critics don't mean anything; they're dumb. But for them not to be loving this, for there not to be 100 just with 8, this is a huge deal. It's got to be.
And that's so. If you saw the thing that I sent you, that'll play into that, because I think that's where the critics are watching it right now at the cans.
Oh, let me pull that up real quick. While I'm doing that, Yeti, if you want to, if you can, let me zoom in. If you can read some of these,
the good ones or bad ones?
Oh no, the bad ones. Bad ones.
The bad ones.
I don't believe any of the good ones. Maybe that's just because I'm cynical. But
yeah, I'm kind of curious or surprised that we're actually seeing like bad reviews, because this is for Vanity Fair and the Times UK, and Disney is known to like throw money their way, right? And make sure that reviews stay
Oh,
decent,
yeah.
you
Yep.
know? And it is so bad that the money's not worth it. Like, but okay, so the bad ones. One can feel the 4 credited screenwriters grasping at inspiration and coming up short. What they did manage to make would be perfectly fine as a standalone adventure film starring some other character, but it's not worthy of the whip. Yeah,
Oof.
I'm guessing that is going to be very accurate, and it's something I think I've said in the past where just create a new character and people won't have as big of an issue.
Yep.
Like
This one. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I would say this one says the good news is that it's not as poor as Crystal Skull. The bad news is it's not much better. That's rough, man, because that movie was freaking trash.
You know that's got time on its side. So people start forgetting, oh, was the Crystal Skull really that bad?
Yep.
You know?
And Trishina, and yeah, this is what you said, Yeti, and Trishina says here too. The elaborate action scenes and witty one-liners delivered by Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny mostly received a muted response inside the theater. Yeah. Audience members could be heard whispering out of boredom in French. Oh man.
But they put in witty one-liners. What, Can it be witty if nobody's laughing?
Well, and Soul Assassin brings up one, and this is what I was talking about earlier. He said, did you see the tweet going around where Indy was like, I fought the Yahtzees, and then Phoebe Waller says, and you stole from the indigenous people. It's like, oh my God, you are such a waste. I knew they were going to flush this movie down the toilet.
And what's her history? Like how, so she gets away with it because he's not feeling his guilt? Like,
yep. Well, there's you. We tried to warn you. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I think a lot of us called this, unfortunately. I feel bad for the people that really love, because I like Indiana Jones, right? But I'm not like a Indiana Jones nut job. Like what I mean nut job is in like, I love Ghostbusters. Like that's my favorite IP probably of all time. Star Wars is like a close second. I'm not that way with Indiana Jones. I do enjoy it. I love it. It's a classic, but I feel bad for those because it just destroys that legacy. It just, like, you know what I mean? It just pees on it just more and more. So it sucks for those people, but I knew this was going to be crap.
It's going to be, this is, and I'm saying it, I'm predicting it here right now, live on the Thursday Night Throwdown with the Common Idiot. On
Thursday Night
channel.
Rundown. The Thursday Night Rundown. Jesus, you don't even know the name of the show, Yeti. You're fired.
Damn. I was trying to make a big deal of my prediction.
Go ahead. Go with the prediction. Thursday Night Throwdown.
This is going to be the next The Last Jedi. This is going to wake up a whole new generation of people to Hollywood's bullshit. It's going to be that all over again. Like this is going to be another reawakening. It's going to start that, like, I don't know, culture war 2.0 online.
I 100% agree. I mean, Trishina says here, this is Kathleen's desperation movie. She's out of here. Solo 2. I mean, this is supposed to be the biggest movie that Lucasfilm has ever done cost-wise. Yeah. And for this already, like you already knew it was going to be these cheesy one-liners. Everything's all about women, right? Like everything's pro. And again, as if you're new here, I don't have a problem with women in movies. We've all talked about it, right? Like Ripley, all well-written characters. We love them. But when it's this stupid nonsense and we know what they're doing, it's just like, what are you doing? You know? Zoom says, escape the Matrix, save yourself before it's too late. Oh, we're trying. We are trying for sure. Speaking of Kathleen Kennedy failure and the legacy that she is going to be living with for the rest of her life, that leads us to our next topic, which I've been just kind of...
okay, here's the other prediction. I've said it before, but this is the last movie that Kathleen Kennedy does. As soon as this like this is done, wrapped, marketing, all that stuff is over, she's going to announce that she's retiring.
I don't know, man. Maybe. I don't. I think Kathleen Kennedy at this point wants to just stick around just to do it. I think.
I don't think she gives a shit.
Oh, that's why. That's why. It's like why. I think she has too much dirt on people, and she's been involved in the business where she's at literally like they can't get rid of her at this point. It's like, you know what I mean? Like that's my opinion, and I think why would she quit for what? She doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but look, she's what? She's in her 70s or something now. Like she's hitting that point in time. There is no way she'd get like fired. I never believed any of that. Because like you said, she's been around for ages. She knows where all the skeletons are hidden. She's got dirt on everyone. She could do what she wants, but she's so well connected. Like if she wanted a different job somewhere else, studios would just give it because her name has weight in the industry. But
I don't think she'll go anywhere else.
No, I don't think she's gonna like. I think she's at that point where she's done. Like she's ready to retire. I don't think she's sticking around. And Indiana Jones was like that was her big thing. She wanted to make this her swan song, and maybe if this is a big disaster that like keeps her here longer so she could like try to repair the damage. But yeah. I don't know. I think she's retiring and just leaving.
She may
once this is wrapped.
She may, because I know, and like, yeah, Iger hates her. You know, Dave. There's this really big, heavy push with Dave Filoni now, and I don't know about you all. Filoni is not the savior of Star Wars. He is literally just a little spitting image of her, but with a goofy ass cowboy hat on. So, you know, if she does leave,
fetish for Ahsoka.
Yeah, if she leaves tomorrow, nothing's changing though. It's the same thing. Like it's the same garbage. I don't think they'll put Filoni in charge. I think they're going to have a woman in charge, very similar to her. But Filoni is still going to be. Filoni will be the Favreau. Like Favreau, what Favreau is to the Mandalorian, Filoni will be to of all Star Wars, in my opinion. That's what I think they're going to do. And I think
I bet you anything, because isn't he? Is he directing or just writing? He's Star Wars movie.
My understanding, he's directing the next trilogy, I think, and it's supposed to. I think he's doing the one. What's it called? Heir of the Empire. I think that's what he's doing. My understanding.
So I bet you that's his test to find out if he takes the role. If those movies do well, he becomes the head of Lucasfilm.
I don't think he will.
But
I think
then
he wants to be more involved in the storytelling. But he may.
Shit, then who would take over in the meantime? Because
I think it'll be someone, another no-name a woman that's just behind the scenes that's been there for a long time, like a figurehead. That's Kathleen Kennedy has some pull, but I don't think he wants to be that high up. I think he wants to be more in the weeds because his obsession with Star Wars and Ahsoka and Hank. Isn't Iger just as bad as? Yeah, Iger is just as bad as the rest of them, if not worse. Iger is literally the reason a lot of this has happened because he saw the writing on the wall, jumped ship, tried to go the political route. That failed. And then he's like, all right, they had a coup, kicked out the bald-headed one. What's his name? The other one?
Chapek?
Yeah, they kicked out Chapek, and Iger came back like he's saving the day when in reality it's same old shit. So
yeah.
But yeah.
I
go ahead.
I know. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy wants to stay around any longer. I think Indy was like, has got a special place in her heart. Take that for what you will. If it's to destroy it or she actually wanted to give it a good legacy, but doesn't know what she's doing. Either way, I think that's the last bit of motivation that she has. I don't think there's anything left over. She doesn't, there's no love for Star Wars to, stay in there and try to fix it all and get it back on track. I think that all ends with Indy.
Yeah, and either way, as long if she's out, hey, whatever. Zoom says, yeah, backyard. I read your comment. Bud Light, the official beer of Galactic StarCruiser, freaking hysterical. And what's up, another monster? I hope you are doing well. Yeah, so let's go on to, obviously we always got to talk about Star Wars at some point, right? And Disney is shutting down the Star Wars Galactic StarCruiser. Now,
if you say it one more time, Justin will show up.
He may, because I mentioned Star Wars.
There's 3.
He's like Beetlejuice, right? When it comes to Star Wars. Look at these little, just imagine spending that much money on this little ass.
I don't think I would fit in there.
No, like what?
I'm looking at the size of that guy, and I'm tall. I don't he doesn't look very, very small. But I can assume I'm going to be taller. I don't think I can fit laying down in there.
I mean, can you imagine taking like a family of 4 and they're saying it's like just under $6,000 and this is your accommodations?
There's so much I would spend my money on.
There's like no windows. It was like a prison cell. That's what it looked like. Andor, the prison cell that they slept in.
Yeah, why is there no windows? I heard that. I heard that earlier today. How is if it's a hotel room, how is there not a window?
Well, I guess because they're saying they don't want. I mean, I would imagine they would want a window to make it look like they're in space. That wouldn't that look, be better. But there's no windows, so I don't know.
They designed it without window. That is so depressing. They make prisons with windows because that little bit of sunlight keeps the people from going insane.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre to me, this whole situation. But I mean, this could have been a fantastic idea if they had done this correctly. If they did this around, like Return of the Jedi.
Everything with Star Wars, if it was done correctly, could have been several $billion. I'm sorry if I stepped on you there.
No, you're fine. I mean, that's saying imagine what that's the thing, right? These are things that we all thought about when we were kids. Like, oh my God, how cool would that be to go to a freaking Star Wars theme museum and seeing stormtroopers walking around, just walking around. Yeah, just it doesn't.
That music starts blaring. You're a little kid and you just made your first lightsaber, so you go to grab that because you hear that breathing on the surround sound, kind of behind you, and some stomping. So you whip that out with your dad and mom, and you go defensive position. Then they walk in, oh my God, come on.
Yeah, and Soul Assassin. Yeah, I remember when the trailer dropped and FNT was ripping it apart, and they literally mid ripping it apart because I think they had 10,000 people watching them. They got freaking yanked off YouTube. Imagine getting embarrassed by a bunch of YouTubers at home. But that's just bonkers to me, man. So, Shake and Bacon, what's up? It says, isn't there a window in those rooms? I don't believe so. My understanding was that was the biggest complaint watching one of these reviews was there weren't any windows in here.
I heard that. That's the second time I heard that. As I said earlier,
because remember when the what's it called? The little when they have they can't say anything for a certain amount of period of time, and then it it lifts whatever, and then the reviewers can talk about it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Embargo.
Yeah, and the embargo lifted, and all these YouTubers that got invited and people got invited to go on this. That was the biggest complaint. They said that there were no reviews or there were no windows. And yeah, the back left, I know it's hard to see on screen. That's the sink area. So it's like a normal hotel room. You come in, there's the door. Your sink is to the left or to the right. The bathroom's to the left.
No, bathroom's on the right there. Well, unless you're coming in the door.
Yeah, as you walk into the door, you take a right. There's your sink or area, and then the left or whatever.
I don't think
the other
that's
way.
A sink, but it's for your keys and stuff. The desk type thing, which is probably what you're saying with sink.
Cutting pube hairs again. There,
I know, I am, right?
No, it's not a window though, unfortunately, and they do have a decent TV size, I thought, but still, they said the problem is
you'd be a smaller TV for a bigger bed.
I know.
I feel claustrophobic looking at it. Okay, is that supposed to be for the kids? And is there a bigger bed outside?
Back into the left. I know. Yeah, it's a JFK reference.
Because I don't think I would not feel comfortable getting it. You're like trapped in that thing. The steps are in your way. You've only got this like small area to get out. I don't think I could fit the full. So is there a bigger bed for the parents?
Nope, that's it.
That's the size. Like that seems like a Japanese hotel room.
Well, let's see. There might be. Let's see. StarCruiser rooms.
Okay, well, you look that up. I'll be back in 1 second. And I've slept on
here, real quick.
Soul Assassin.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So there is
so
one.
That apparently is like for the kids.
Okay.
And then you have here the parents area. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But dear God, it's still small.
Yeah. So for the kids, that's okay. I was thinking, like, if that's me, I can't fit there. That's not going to work.
No. Here's a control panel for a phone because, it's all like interactive. So they had all these missions and stuff. So you had to have that. There's like a droid. There's like an assistance droid or whatever. Yeah, here's the little jail cell for your kids when they're pissing you off. You throw them up there. I guess another fold-out wall bed that looks more like a diaper changing area. That's odd. Storage areas, little square boxes. Oh yeah, here's your charging stations for your data pad. Okay,
right back.
Go ahead.
To the left.
Yeah, just a desk. Okay, cool. Yeah, very small. And there's your bathroom. I knew it was a sink. I called it. Let's see. What is this? Can you read Arabish? No, I can't. Yeah, very basic, but for that much money? So 2 guests per standard cabin, $4,800. 3 guests, $5,299. 4 guests was literally right at $6,000. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, I would rather them do something like the Nostromo than something like this. But let's see. Y'all, Shake and Bacon says, y'all should try and see how long you could stay in that room, in that one room that is completely silent. Apparently no one can do it for very long. No, a lot of people can't do it. That drives people absolutely insane. Just clear silence and just being completely dark. But again, none of this surprises, I don't think, any of us. We all know that this was going to be bad, that it wasn't going to last, but the cost. And then a lot of the leaked videos, I don't know if a lot of you guys saw that, with just the singing and the cringe, and it's all centered around, obviously, Disney Star Wars. Kylo Ren shows up. No one cares about that. Then you had Rey Palpatine show up with these like cheap little trash lightsabers. Like, I guess maybe it'd be cool for kids, but I don't know, man. That's a really expensive thing for this to fail. And think about it. Think about how much freaking money it cost them to build this out. Like, this cost Disney a lot of money. And for them to just now have to like wipe this away, and I mean, this is huge. This is such a big deal. For only them to last a year, that there's no way they made their money back on this. This is a complete and utter failure in every level. Yeah, and you have 2 days to role play. Imagine, like, just you can, and there's only so many games you can do, and like little, I don't know. It sounds like I can only imagine the dads there. I would be literally, even though it's Star Wars like centered, I would still be like, are you kidding me? Like, this, I don't know. Again, I think if it was more centered around original Star Wars, it would be a lot more fun seeing some old things from back in the day. But yeah, kids want Universal. That's where I want to go. I want to go see Universal and see everything there. I want nothing to do with Disney, and I don't know. They have that Twi'lek singing a song that feels like a ripoff from Fifth Element. Yep, I remember that. I think that was in one of the articles I saw too, where it's just straight out of Fifth Element, which is a good movie, by the way, if you've never seen it. Another monster says, most of my friends' children hate Disney Star Wars as much as their parents. Yeah, well, yeah, and I 100% agree with that, because a lot of kids emulate what their parents like, especially like older things, like, introducing that stuff to your kids at a younger age. Their kids don't care about this at the end of the day. They have this desire when it comes like seeing their parents watch it, and they can bond over that stuff. If their parents hate it, they're not going to like it. And even so, even if their parents have nothing to do with Star Wars, kids today are not the same as they were. There's too much stuff that they do, that like the whole TikTok world, they don't care about Star Wars. They don't.
Well, they killed interest in it.
Yeah. And well, kids also don't like, I was talking about the toy sales too, right? Like kids don't really play with toys that much anymore. Some do, not all, but
they
most
don't play with shitty toys.
Yeah.
Like, because they destroyed their own brand and made it impossible to buy. Nobody wanted a Rose Tico doll. No one. No kid is going, oh, I want this ugly ass doll.
Shake Bacon says, grew up in LA. Disneyland was way better than Universal. Maybe Florida's better, though. I mean, I remember Disney World long ago. I mean, this is a long time ago, but Disney World was, I enjoyed Disney World back in the day better than Universal. But what I see now that that Universal has, like with Harry Potter, with Soul Assassin brings up the Mario Land that's coming out, or Mario Land. I said it right the first time, but yeah. Well, I used to say
Mario Land.
That's a New York thing. A lot of my friends used to say Mario all the time. But yeah, Mario Land, like that looks freaking cool. Have you seen that? Have you seen images? Not. Oh man, it looks. I want to see if I can try to find some photos. It looks insane. Oh, let me see. Dude, it looks so freaking. It's so interactive. It looks like you're literally there.
Oh, dude.
Like you're playing a game like when you're there.
That's a good design.
Yeah.
Like, can you crawl over all that stuff?
Or well, I think this is a ride. I think this is like a tram that you're taking a picture of. But this is like a ride area. Let's see. So like you walking in, you're going through a tunnel. I mean, it's so interactive. They said there's like the things on the wall, like those. I think that moves. Like, it just looks freaking cool, dude.
It does.
I've heard a lot of stuff about it. Like it just looks nuts, and it's just like the game. It's like being there. So it's definitely something I want to go check out. Look at that. That's just so neat.
Yeah, that does look really good.
Yeah, this is some type of tram or Yoshi ride.
So you don't get to like walk over the stuff, but I guess that was kind of the same with the other parks.
Yeah, here's your magic or the castle, right? Peach's castle. Dude, look how many people are there. I think this is the one in Japan.
I guarantee they probably sell like a Princess Peach dress and the Mario outfit, and they probably sell a ton of those.
Oh yeah,
girls and boys like.
Oh, I guarantee like the merch is just through the roof. So yeah,
I mean, I would pay for one of those hats. The
mushroom
hats look awesome. Yeah, no, not the mushroom one, the Mario one.
Oh, I'd get a couple. Why not? Like the Mario hat, a mushroom hat.
It's probably cool. $50 or $100 though. So.
Oh, probably. So yeah, I mean, this looks really cool, and it's something different and new, right? And it appeals to everybody. Everybody likes this stuff. Like, so that's the thing with Star Wars. They kind of, I mean, we know what Star Wars has done. It's isolated its fans to push them out the door. Forget the past, kill the past, whatever it is he said. Yeah. I mean, Star Wars like no, or Mario's like no, embrace us. Remember me? Remember playing this back in the day? So, man, these side note vloggers like this are really weird, very strange people.
I don't personally understand going all the time. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't like big crowds either, so it's like I couldn't go regularly because there's too many people. And when I have gone, you wait, you had to make like a week of it because you spend 3 hours in a single line for a single ride. And then you go to the next ride and then you wait standing there for another couple hours. Like, I don't really understand going going to these places all the time, but when I was a kid, it was super cool.
Yeah. And Soul Sass says, yeah, Geeks and Gamers, they did a stream at Mario Land. And the place is crazy. That's cool. That's the one thing. They do have that park hopping channel that goes to all the theme parks and stuff. That's a really good idea to have that, because they go over, like, if you don't have it, want to experience something, you can just view it and they go, okay, cool. Like, it's little tips and tricks, I guess, on how to navigate that stuff. Disney rocked in the 80s. The magic is long gone. Yeah. Magic's been gone for quite a while.
I remember going to I've been to the one in California and the one in Florida, and I remember liking Florida better because it was more spaced out and you had all the different kind of the different areas you could go to. So there's like Blizzard Beach and stuff, and
it's way bigger in Florida.
Yeah,
way bigger.
So you could like kind of choose the theme park, and it made it so it wasn't all cramped into one area, so it wasn't nearly as bad for crowds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the size difference from my understanding. I've not been to the one out in California or anything, but the one in Florida, like Disney World, is massive. Like, it is so insanely big, and it's just, even with the Galaxy's Edge, from my understanding, is just, I've seen people walk through where, Jay from, Park Hopping and stuff, and some of those others, like, I've watched them live stream from there, and it just looks boring. There's just nothing there. Like, all the potential that you have that come with Star Wars, like, have a goddamn Ewok walking around or something, like anything that, but they want nothing to do with the past. The only thing, and it's current day Disney stuff, is like Chewbacca, but right, they don't want, like, you should have like Greedo somewhere. You should have a pod racing thing, like all of the potential.
Why is there not pod racing? That is the most obvious ride you could have.
Like, and that's a dead, like, everyone would go on that.
Yeah, and like, not even just, okay, say you're just a fan of the original trilogy, you would still understand the pod racing and you would see it and go, this is cool, right?
Yeah.
Even if you just like the other, you would go, I want to go on that ride because it's cool.
Even if it's like a little display on the side where it puts you immersive in it, where you're walking past and you're seeing like a pod racer being worked on by like pit droids, right?
Oh yeah, there should be that.
How cool would that be? Just to see that. But no, like, they don't. And that was the thing. If you remember, or if you've ever seen it, apparently that was the idea, things of that nature, where it was going to be this massive area, and it was going to be kind of all sections of Star Wars, and it was kind of going to touch on all the movies. It was going to go from like prequel stuff to, like, you know what I mean? Every area was going to be different.
Scrapped.
Yeah, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, "Oh no. We only want to be pushing Disney stuff." And it's like, again, this woman completely destroyed Star Wars from every single area. But Tanisha says, yeah, don't go to Disney World now. A lot of fights been kicking off in Disney. I did hear that. I have heard that too, that there's a lot of stuff going on, which I'm not spending thousands of dollars to a company that absolutely hates everything that I am and everything that I stand for. So they're not getting a dime from me.
Well, and isn't the price, like, the pricing has gotten absolutely insane? Like, the price for the Galactic StarCruiser was, it was like $4 or $6 grand for 2 nights. Or 2 days.
I went over it earlier. For 2 days for like 2 people, it was like $4 grand. If it's 4 people, here, the hotel would charge around $5,000 for a minimum 2-night stay for 2 people. That's crazy.
And that's not all inclusive either. That's just to stay, not to do the other things.
Yep. You still have to pay for like food and drinks, my understanding. Like, you still have like a lot of that stuff. Some of it is included, like some of the games, I think, and interactive stuff, but not everything.
Yeah, and I guarantee you it's not the cool things.
No.
Probably building a lightsaber's not in there.
Yeah, and
that's going to be extra.
Bobby reminds me of this too. Have you seen the shuttle that takes you to the hotel? It's literally a box truck that you get in. Like, it's a delivery truck you would see like a Best Buy or something. You get in, and it's supposed to be a shuttle taking you to the ship, and it's literally a truck. Like, that's so freaking bad. I don't know. Soul says, I knew a guy who had to take a loan out to take his family to Disney. That was a few years ago. Can't imagine. That's crazy, man. Like, I understand the experience, but I'm not taking a loan out for that. No way. Especially, again, like a company that openly says, like, I hate everything that you are and that you stand for, but please give me your money. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember being a little kid and like, can we go there? Can we go there? I don't. There's no way I don't have kids, but maybe it would change if I had them. But I can't see saying yes.
Well,
there's for $5,000, or it's probably way more once you include everything else. There's way more better experiences I can come up with than they going there for 2 nights.
Well, I just wouldn't want, I mean, even if you have kids, right? Do you want them around this stuff? Do you want them like, I
No.
don't want them watching that propaganda that they push out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if anything, the only thing I'm going to have them watch that would be Disney related would be older stuff, the stuff that we grew up on that wasn't as bad. I mean, even then there was still some stuff that wasn't the greatest, right? Like there, some questionable things in there, but as long as you teach them right, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soul says, one Yeti's enough. We don't need more Yetis running around. Shake and Make say tickets were about $110 in 2012 and season passes were like $380 a person per year. That was 2012. I can't even imagine now. That's ridiculous. But yeah, that's again, not really surprising that it failed. I mean, I think a lot of us anticipated it.
Why? I hope I'm not stepping on anything you were going to say.
No.
Why didn't they start reducing the prices to get people going to their hotel? Like they didn't once just like try to decrease the prices. It stayed at $5,000.
I thought also too, I heard something, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I remember seeing an article. They were having like staffing problems where people were quitting and leaving, like the actors that are on the the people that do this, because they have to take 2 days out of their life to do this as well. It's not as easy. It's not like the main guy who's like that main singer, or some of these people that are these characters can just go home, right? Like some of them are there for 2 days as well too, because they're interacting and tied into this story.
Yeah.
So they said they were having some employee problems as well. And, with things, budgets and cost of everything, and things are getting more expensive across the board for everybody. If it's getting more expensive for Disney to do, then of course they're going to raise the prices because they're not going to lose out on profit. So if anything, it's just getting worse and worse, and it's just, well, there you go. So, but
yeah, but I gotta imagine there's some buffer there, like,
oh yeah, there's always
around.
some room, but I mean, but I don't know. I don't see how much they can lower it. I mean, again, I don't know how much overhead they had, or how much in like wiggle room they had to lower it. But I mean, even still, even if you lowered it to like $2,000, are you gonna? Would you still go? Probably not. I mean,
no, it's not a place I want to go, but it becomes more appealing to, I think, the average family. Like compare $2,000 to $5,000. That's a significant difference. Right?
Well, but two, also the hype for Star Wars right now. Star Wars is not. I mean, even normies, like the ones that love the Mandalorian, right? Like, there's not a lot of people that cared about the previous, like the Disney Star Wars stuff. A lot of hype came from the Mandalorian stuff, and even the normies that really like that, we saw with the ratings of this last season, they just don't care anymore. Like, Star Wars is just dead for a lot of people. So it's like, the fact that it's dead and there's no interest, are they going to spend even $2,000, even $1,000 on something that they don't have interest in?
No, I would. It just doesn't seem worth, especially when it's all tied to the sequels.
And also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even if you spend that money on this, that doesn't give you like access to the parks or anything. This is all separate. It's all its own thing. Like this doesn't give you. I think maybe one of them. There's a package that had something to do with like you can get into the Galaxy Edge area, but I don't think it's like anything else but this.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
How do you screw that up so bad?
It's Disney. It's easy. They're like
that takes effort to screw up on that grand of a scale. That takes some serious effort.
Well, when you were talking earlier about the Bud Light stuff and how like this is going to be a documented thing that they're going to like study, how this IP has been handled will be the ultimate study, because there's no way I've never seen something so profitable get diminished by such poor handling of something. This is all just,
it's going to take more time for that one though, because like Disney hasn't even come close to like admitting defeat on that. They're still trying to push forward and act like everything's okay, and mass media is kind of like running defense for them, where the beer is so obvious how much of an utter failure it was. Like I am 100% with you. It's just I think it's going to take way more time before it gets into the realm of being that shit, I already forgot the name that I used before.
Like a study?
Being taught. Studying.
Oh yeah, when Disney, like over time, they're going to look back at this and this IP, and they're going to say like, how did this happen? Like, how do you take something so profitable and such a well-known? Like, this is Star Wars is the biggest IP probably ever of all, and they screw it up this bad. That is a feat beyond imaginable. And Shake and Bacon makes a good point too. $2,000 to $5,000 can get you a nice trip somewhere out of the country. Why would I want to spend that in a simulated fake room with like cheesy ass video games? Remember like you shoot the TIE fighters? It's like Atari kind of like joystick shit. And then it's like these, like, why would anyone want to do that? And then
you could get an all-inclusive resort somewhere.
I remember reading something too. This reminded me, you could build your lightsaber there, but you can't carry it around. Because like they don't want people like swinging around. So you have the opportunity, like you have to have it. They'll either hold it for you or they could ship it back to you or something.
No, fuck off.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
No, you can't do that. You have to have the little kid in order to make it work. They gotta be like clutching that thing like it means something. Can't say, oh, we'll ship it to you or we'll hold it till you leave. No, that you give them or sell them a belt to hold it, but they have it like there. So when there's music, they kind of whip it out. Like
they what? What do you want them to do? What do you want
the lightsaber? The lightsaber, you son of a bitch.
Jesus, Kieti. This is oh my God. You work for Bud Light now?
No, I'm not trying to cut them off.
Let me see. I think, I want to find this article. I remember that. Lightsaber shipped.
There's no way you can have this, especially for a kid's experience, and not allow them to walk with their lightsabers. That's a key component. It has to be.
Let's see. Let me share this because this is someone asking. And it says, we are headed to the StarCruiser, and I'm wondering if they will ship our lightsabers from Savvy's home for us. I guess on here. We mailed them home on a previous, so this person's been twice. That's crazy. We've mailed them home on a previous trip, and we are hoping to do the same again. If they don't, is there somewhere at Disney Springs that can? Sounds like you're gearing up to go on the voyage. And my fellow panelist, Michelle, got to experience the Holocron StarCruiser earlier this year and says it's every Jedi's dream come true, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure it is. but it can be a bit cumbersome to navigate through Batu with the extra. What's Batu? With the extra, is that the park itself with the extra cargo? After building
Yeah.
their lightsaber at Savvy's workshop. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I like just the name of their area. So the made up Star Wars names.
Oh, okay. So maybe they did have access to the park because it says you can absolutely ship it back to your home planet at many of the merchandise locations throughout Disney Hollywood. So maybe that's it. Maybe like on there you can, but if you go to the park, you can't carry the. I don't know. Let me see what else we have here. Oh, here's a FAQ of how much does it cost. I mean, none of this matters now because it's all gone, right? Can you tip the crew members? Oh, that's good. I'm sure they can. Do I need to purchase park tickets to enter Star Wars Galaxy Edge? Oh, no. Okay. So, or do I need to purchase a park ticket to enter Star Wars Galaxy Edge during my Star Wars? No. Okay. So neither separate admissions for. So I guess it is included. Neither separate admissions for Disney Hollywood Studios nor theme park reservation are required. As part of your 2-night voyage, you will have the opportunity to visit Galaxy's Edge during. Okay, so you can at least go to Galaxy's Edge. You don't have access to anything else. Okay. I don't know. It's not worth me looking into. I'm sure. I thought something like you can't. I heard something that you can't walk through Batu or Galaxy's Edge with the lightsabers, and that was the point. Like you either had to buy it and leave with them or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's still
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean,
absolutely insane.
It's freaking Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's up, Setlick Gaming? It's been a while, man. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, shaking me. Yeah, let's whip out our sabers, Yeti. Come on.
I remember buying one of those cheap ones at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like they had the different you kind of just you just whip it out and then it extends.
And it extends, huh?
Yeah. It was just like plastic on a flashlight and it kind of made it look like it glowed.
Dude, so the toys back in the day in like the 90s, those were badass. They had Darth Maul's lightsaber, they had Obi-Wan's, they had Qui-Gon's, they had Luke Skywalker's. I forgot who made them. Probably Mattel or something like that.
Oh, this wasn't anything like that. This was super cheap. But
you're talking about like the dollar store lightsaber.
No, we bought it at Disneyland or Disney, one of the Disney ones, and we walked around with that.
Oh,
like I remember buying that there. And because I saw some other kids with the like, hey, I want this, Dad.
What was this, like last year or something?
No. Like I was a kid.
Oh, so it was a knockoff one.
Yeah,
it had to be because they couldn't. There's no way they could sell lightsabers back then, right? Because
it wasn't called a lightsaber. It was just a cheap plastic version.
It's a Yeti saber.
It sucked, but you were allowed to walk around with that. That's the whole point of me bringing this up, which seems like a bad idea at this point.
Well, I guess now since they're having fist fights and brawls at Disney World, they don't want any potential weapons being used because this is the society that we live in, and we can't have nice things anymore.
Oh, you couldn't use that thing as a weapon. Like it was so weak. You'd be better off punching.
Remember the foam ones back in the day? Me and my brother, I remember, had foam, like the foam swords, but you could take the foam off and then you can like literally hit each other with the plastic because it had a plastic core to keep it from bending. I remember that. We would do that all. We were like, yeah, screw this foam stuff. We're making this hurt. But well, we've been running all. I knew it, Yeti. We're almost doing it. We're 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I can't quit you.
I know we do it all the time, man. We always run over, or run late. But no, it was great conversation. I think it went well.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was all right. You weren't completely wrong about everything tonight. So
you son of a bitch.
Real quick, everyone who's here, subscribe to Yeti. Just drop the link in the channel if you can. He does roast videos really well. Yeti, are you working on anything right now?
Another Yeti file video with the Little Mermaid, and
that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to edit it and But I also saw, Fast and Furious just came out, so I might try to jump on that because that's time sensitive.
Oh, that's gonna
Uh,
be perfect too. Yeah, if you could see that and do a review on it, because that's the funny thing about Fast and the Furious. It's like it's gonna be a bad movie. I haven't seen any of them, I think, since like Tokyo Drift, and the last one I saw in
Yeah.
theaters was part 2. Like that's it. I don't like now they're like going to space and doing all this James Bond kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but they make money. People like it. So
It's a popcorn flick. I could probably tell you I'll enjoy it. It's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be terrible. It's just like, yeah, cars, and there's explosions and family.
it's like Meg, the
Yeah.
the big giant shark movie. It's like, hey, like, yeah, it's gonna be weird, but and
It's a
goofy,
monster
but
movie.
who cares? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Um,
know. I'm expecting that.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to do. Hopefully you do that. So if you haven't checked out Yeti's channel, please go ahead and do so. Thank you all for being here. A couple new faces, Trishina, not and the others, a couple other people that stopped in that were kind of new. My
Words are
regulars,
hard.
words are always hard, especially with it's 11:58 at night for
Yeah.
me. Couple of my regulars though, as always, Setlick, Order, Execute Order Shills, Shake and Bacon, Soul Assassin, Backyard Farmer, Stop Yawning Yeti, no time for that. Bobby, all you guys, thank you for being here, supporting the channel, and watching as always. I greatly appreciate it. For the members that are still around, that are still listening, I will be doing a member stream Sunday morning, 11 o'clock. It'll be either 11 or 12 in the afternoon. I'll let you know, and I will let you know the topic of the day. So I'll probably have you guys vote on something. So appreciate you all hanging out. I appreciate you guys being here, watching, supporting. Go check out Yeti's channel, like his stuff. Greatly appreciate it. And I will catch you all next week. So see you guys later.
Thanks for having me. Bye.